Thank you for tuning in to the SeaBros Fishing Podcast. On this episode of the podcast, it was our pleasure to host longtime friend and fellow fisherman, Captain Jesse Martello. Joining him, another returning guest and owner of L.T Marine Products, Captain Chris Gergley. We've known Jesse since we started our charter fishing business over 20 years ago. He's an incredible person, amazing fisherman, and is one of the most mechanically gifted humans on the planet. If it is broken, Jesse can fix it. He has decades of experience in the automotive industry and has translated those skills to his passion of boats and fishing. Jesse runs a charter business of his own, Think Big Sportfishing, out of Mystic, Connecticut. Jesse and Chris actually met through us and became close friends quickly. They didn't realize they were living basically down the street from each other, and they've become good friends since we introduced them. Jesse collaborates with Chris on designing and testing products for L.T Marine, and Chris works with Jesse on the charter boat. In this conversation, we discuss the importance of preparation, time on the water, and the amount of dedication it takes to become a consistent charter fisherman. We talk about similar methods that we share when tuna fishing on Stellwagen Bank, and we also talk a lot about canyon fishing tactics. We spend a bit of time discussing manufacturing products from one of the most abusive environments and again, some of the world's hardest fish to catch. We hope you enjoy this one as much as we did. And without further ado, please welcome to the podcast, Captain Jesse Martello and Chris Gergley. Welcome to the SeaBros Fishing Podcast, where we follow 3 words of wisdom. You can't catch them if you don't have a hook in the water. Always trust your instincts. And the last, you'll just have to keep listening. Stay tight.
Hook around. Yep, that's the one. That's the real one. Oh. Get up there, man. All right, get back down low. All right, that real. Oh, we doubled up. We doubled up. All right. Am I coming off or what? Get that down. Show him get on that rock right here.
Oh, how's green sticking this year? Did you green stick this year?
We did green stick quite a bit this year. Wasn't as good as years past, but I would say canyon fishing was down across the board.
Yeah.
Yep.
You think the reason? Boy, everyone that's been on here has kind of been talking about how there's really only one eddy all year.
Yeah, that I don't think helps.
Probably got something to do with longliners not being able to fish out east anymore.
I think that has more to do with it than anything. I'm hoping I'm terribly wrong, but I think that's
a
it.
tiny bit close if you can.
Yep.
I can move that mic a little too.
Beginning, we're kind of just moving stuff around because everyone's different. Refraction.
Nice.
So this is where the magic happens.
Everyone sounds pretty good.
Cheers.
Cheers
Cheers.
to another good season.
Yes,
Hell yeah.
exactly.
Let's make it happen.
Let's rip some lips.
Yep.
Harpoon some things in the neck.
Just try not to break any hooks.
We don't want to get into that.
Real life hook testing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Are you still using the Brocars?
I am.
Oh, yeah?
I've only broken one number 7. That's the
Okay.
good news.
Yeah.
The bad news is I've broken 2 number 8s.
Yeah, they all break.
They all break, though. Everything breaks. We're good at breaking stuff.
What was the largest sea creature you caught this year?
God, I don't even know. Not too big. I'd say we had, a couple of... Well, the ones we got up here in December were
4, 6,
106, 107s, whatever.
Yeah.
650 pounds, maybe. I don't
Were
know.
they smaller this year down there than last year?
They were bigger down there this year.
They
Bigger.
were.
Yep.
Didn't you guys get like a 120 or something last year?
Jesse.
It was,
Was that 2 years ago?
3 years ago now. I think it was 21. October of 21. Am I right?
Yes. Yep, September.
October 21, we got a 121 and a half.
Jesus.
Officially measured by the NOAA guy because he boarded us.
Oh, yeah, because he knows. He knows exactly how to measure them.
That's freaking funny.
You were-
121's a big one.
Yeah. Yep,
You
that was
were
a big
like
fish.
100 yards away from me, anchored up when you went off on that one.
Yep. And
Sitting there swearing under my breath. Fucking asshole.
You guys aren't competitive. What are you talking about?
No. And then I get on the radio. I'm like, go get him. I'm like, fucker.
yep. That one ended up in, I don't know if that one got tail wrapped or just had a heart attack. It didn't take us long to catch it. It was pretty uneventful after the first run. That was it. Just came up dead. Yeah. Dead as a doornail. Great gills and everything.
We've heard that the last like
crazy
3 podcasts. I think.
Yeah.
Yep.
Heart attack fish. Yeah, Bob DeCoste said he had one.
Yeah.
He was awesome. Have you guys met Bob? Albacore Charters on Nantucket?
No.
Awesome dude. He
Squared away.
Yeah, very professional. He had some really, really good stories. Very like well-spoken, down to earth dude.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah. I saw some rod holders leave Monaghan's. I saw.
Yeah, they definitely.
Great, they'll be calling me for more.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that was a good show. A lot of people showed up.
They seem really enthusiastic. Like, I know I talked to Connor up there, and he seems like he's ready to push.
Well, they have like the perfect balance of people working there that have actually fished and not just like, you know, one species, one way of fishing. Like Connor's fished the canyons, he's giant fished, he's done a lot. And then Mark, the kid who was kind of running their tackle shop before they did the whole big expansion, is like an insane shore guy. Very secretive. I try to pull some intel out of him. He's just like an absolute closed door. But awesome kid, very knowledgeable. And then the fact that they still have like the whole Monaghan's family working there, and I don't know, there's a lot of generations of knowledge there, which is cool. I mean, they've kept employees there for, I think Marty was saying he's been there 38 years.
Wow.
Like their head like mechanic and repower guy. I mean, I think that speaks something to a business if you can hold someone for that long.
Sure.
Turnover's a big thing in this industry.
Yeah.
In any industry right now, because there's no more loyalty. We all know that.
Yep.
If you find somebody that works for you, you better pay them good. And,
Yep.
you know.
So I have a good place to start this. Since we all know Jesse has, so this is Jesse's first time on the podcast.
Mm-hmm. Long overdue.
How long have we known you?
Oh, God. I remember talking to your dad on the radio 07, 08, like way
Kind
back.
of when we were like really getting going.
You
trolling.
guys were little kids then.
Yeah.
We met Jesse the same time we started fishing with Weber.
Right.
Oh
It was
yeah.
all right around that same time.
I think I took Weber out a few times with me when we were like, I mean, I was young, so he was like maybe 14 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, literally.
Yep.
It was a long, long time ago now.
What boat did you have then?
I had a 22.5 foot Aquasport that was the worst boat ever. Jeff and I went out like 5 times trying to troll up a fish in that thing, and it was just hideous. You could not troll a fish in that boat.
Yeah.
It was just something with it. It was the worst thing ever. And after like the 5th time, Weber just turned to me. He's like, I don't think I'm coming fishing in your boat anymore. And I was like, this thing sucks. So 2011, I got rid of that thing and got a Cape Cod Marine, and that's when we really started trolling fish up.
Yeah.
That thing was troll magic.
Yeah.
So you just fished for fun / commercial fished?
Yeah,
To start.
that's all we were doing. We were
Yeah.
just fishing for fun, and then just kind of like everybody else, just kind of morphed into something more than fun, And once we got to Cape Cod and we started doing some damage with that thing. That thing was an outrageous boat.
Dude, you were everywhere in that thing. I'll never forget. I mean, like, we had known you for a while, but Taylor and I went out on a 32 Topaz, same hull as yours, to West Atlantis, and like, it was easy 8 to 10s when we got there.
It was gross.
It was disgusting.
Yeah.
And we started trolling our way with it on our stern to the weather buoys, and then picked away. I think we got like a white, a wahoo, a bunch of small tunas, and then we got to fishtails. And you're in fishtails with a 26-foot center console. Like,
I
he's
was
out of
with
his
a charter.
fucking
Yep.
mind. Yeah.
With a charter? Dude, who did you weasel into that thing?
Diehards.
Yeah.
Diehards. They still fish with me too.
Holy
Yeah.
crap.
God.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
awesome.
Surprised
It
we're
was
still breathing.
yeah, and that was They might have breathed some salt water on that. No, it was good. That boat was amazing, though. I will say, all the years fishing, I had it for, 11 years we ran that boat, and it always got us home. And in style, too, I got to say. 7-8 footers, it's no problem. Just, trash right through it at 17 knots. It was crazy. It was absolutely, you guys used to think I was nuts being out there, and we're like, I think you're nuts.
Those are pretty amazing
knots,
hulls, though.
Yeah.
The design was insane.
Yeah.
Yep. And having all that weight with the diesel, it was just really set up.
It was a great boat. It was a great boat for giant fishing, great boat for, doing all kinds of stuff. And you could throw it on the trailer and bring it wherever you wanted to, know. Mm-hmm. That was the beauty of it.
How much fuel did you hold on that thing?
So it had twin 80-gallon tanks, and then it had auxiliary tanks for when we went on those big trips that were you could just plop them right down in the front hatch, and they were all plumbed right in. It was super sweet.
That's sick.
So it held another 60 there. So you could pretty much, the thing only burned 5 gallons an hour at 18 knots, 20 knots. So, it's crazy.
What was the furthest you went in that boat?
Furthest we went was the hag line. Yep. Seriously. Yep. When you got to worry about going over that line, you went too far.
Please tell me you caught something.
Yeah, we did not.
Oh my!
We caught nothing but shark after shark after shark. We waited for a cold front to go through, and the fishing had been great. And we waited for that cold front and waited for the weather to clear up, and waited one too many days.
Yeah.
Got out there, nothing. We fished a whole day, and obviously you don't want to spend too much time out there in that thing. So
yeah,
we scooted home. But it was, I want to say we left out of Weymouth. I think it was it was close to 200 miles one way. It was crazy. It was a crazy trip.
He's Mr. Optimistic. He'll say, okay, we're getting ready to go do a commercial tile fish trip or something, and we're looking at the weather. This was last spring. We had nothing but wind.
Yeah.
Wind. And he's looking at it. We got to go. And he's telling me, well, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday looks good. It's only going to be blowing 20 to 25 knots, but the seas are going to be 10 feet at 20 seconds. I'm like, have fun.
Yeah.
I don't want to be out there fishing, wishing I was at work and dealing with other bullshit. That's just,
No shit.
Yep.
No shit. How did you guys meet? When did that whole relationship start?
Oh, okay. Back 2017, he was at tackle shop. Was it the Old Fish Northeast?
Oh yeah.
He had the open house. I met your dad for the first time. I was up there, and then he saw the rod holders, and he saw I was engraving them Somers, Connecticut, because they're made in Somers, Connecticut, USA. Yeah. And he's like, "No shit, we're in Somers." And the funny thing was that our landlord, his son, is best friends with him. And,
really?
And we're all in the same town. Yeah. His house is less than a mile down the road from my shop. I've been there for 20 fucking years. I didn't even know he lives there.
Yeah.
So we just start talking and this and that. And then through the years, a year later, he messaged me, "Hey," he had my number. He's like, "You want to go fishing?" I said, "I got nothing going on. What the hell?"
Yeah.
So he called me on a Friday. He's like, "Yeah, we're going to go Sunday." And that's when he was up here in the Mill Wharf in Scituate.
Yeah.
Right.
And we went out there, and it was a shitty day because the fucking wind was blowing out of the south at 20 knots or something like that.
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, this is nothing. We've been out here in 10 times worse than this." I'm like, and this was in the Cape Cod Marine. And I'm like, how could it be any fucking worse? I'm always used to being on big boats.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't even go out in my topaz in that because I know I'm going to have my teeth knocked in.
Yeah.
So we went out there, and then that was the day, the end of the quota, we caught that fish. And Paul from Wicked Tuna fucking ran over one of our balloons. We're all sitting there fucking, hey, waving, and he's there waving "Hey, guys." 10 seconds later, the rod goes off, and bang, we got that 96-inch fish.
Yep.
That's sweet.
Literally, as soon as he went over the balloon, and I still don't know how he didn't hook it. It must have just had enough sag to get under his boat. And
they're probably following his boat.
They definitely were. Because literally, as I'm watching the trajectory of him, he was 30 feet from the balloon, and the balloon would, and I'm like, "Oh, we're hooked on him." And then all of a sudden it just took off. I'm like, "Oh no, we're not hooked on him. We're hooked on a fish." They were literally following his boat.
It's crazy how they do that. We've had a good handful of bites. They'll get one or we'll get one, drag them by, and 2 minutes later, wham, boat's on.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting.
We used to do that trick way back when.
Yeah.
You know, when somebody was fighting one of those little 65 inchers, you troll right over the back of them.
Yeah.
Just about bump your.
I think they just check the bars out. Like, that bar is still attached to its face.
Right.
You know, they're just milling around.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
what the hell is this thing?
Yeah.
You know, what's going on?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild.
We've had a ton of bites doing that. I mean, you know, trolling with same thing with the whales. You know, I mean, I don't know how many times you just go, oh man, we just missed a whale with that squid bar, and then bam, the thing goes off.
Yeah.
You know, so they're just falling around.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what would be a good, a nice little option to do, I guess, especially in the canyons, is like the minute you troll fish up and like, you know, you have enough on, or maybe you only got a few bites, and you're like kind of squared away, just to start casting like Ronzies and stuff like that and just letting them fall. Like, I know a few guys were doing that when that epic big eye bite was going on like 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
There was dropping jigs. Like, the minute they'd troll a fish, 1 fish, 2 fish, they just start dropping jigs, and they're hooking them on the jigs.
Yeah. Makes sense.
That's wild.
So you had quite a few adventures on the Cape Codder.
Yeah. Yep. We did. We fished that boat pretty good for a lot of years. Like I said, it was a fantastic boat. I mean,
Sounds like you miss it.
I do. I wish I still had it. I wish I still had it in addition to, because it is nice to have a down east boat and to be out of the elements, and you know, but the speed kills me, you know.
Yeah.
Fishability, being able to get up tight, and I'm sure like bait runs, stuff like that. It's nice to have a little run around boat.
I mean, it would definitely still be nice to have it in the fleet. I can say that.
Yeah.
But you know, maintaining 2 boats is a pain in the butt, as you guys know.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
But I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
But. Yep, great boats. You know, the new boat, pretty cool. I'm liking it.
Yeah.
I'm definitely liking that too. I like the fact that it's still a walk around, you know.
Yeah.
I'm jealous of that boat. The boat's sick.
As soon as you bought that boat, I was like, fuck.
So you got that boat. It wasn't bare bones, but it was kind of bare bones.
It was bare bones.
Yeah.
It was literally like whatever you needed to make the boat legal. I mean, as far as lights go and stuff, I mean, it literally had, we were just talking about the other day, it had one light inside the wheelhouse, like you turn it on and off, like one click light. Nothing downstairs. You know, no fishing stuff on it whatsoever. I mean, it had literally an old fish finder, an old GPS, and an old chart plotter. It's
kind of nice though. To go
it you know, in the end, it was kind of nice because I didn't have to fix a bunch of crap that everybody else screwed up along the way. You know, it was like a blank canvas. That's what it was.
Yeah.
So
it's a 35 flowers.
Yep. Yeah. It was a 33 stretched to 35.
Yeah. What would you compare that hull to, like, for people that don't know what a flowers looks like?
Maybe like a Northern Bay.
Okay.
You know, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say like a Beamier Holland, Northern Bay, something like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's typical down east boats. It's a built down style. It's not a skeg style. So you know, there's a lot of them out there that are comparable. It's you know, I don't know. It's just a down east boat to me. I don't know. The things are just slow.
Yeah.
I'm a little impatient, so that doesn't help.
Yeah.
But, you know, I don't know. I've gotten more used to it though.
Yeah.
You know, you just get used to the trips. So.
What do you end up doing for work on the boat? Like, walk us through like electronics and sounder, like transducers and all that stuff.
You know, I had plenty of time in 2020, as most of us did, because no one was working. Like, you know, I mean, it was a horror show, that whole deal with COVID. And so I bought the boat in
January.
The end of January 2020. So literally, I think I signed for the boat like a week before COVID hit.
Yeah.
Like it was a disaster.
Yeah.
And funny thing is, when I went to look at the boat, I took there was a bunch of us, me, my son, Derek, Tim Briggs, and we were waiting for my buddy Mark to come back from China, of all places. He was in China for like a 3-week cruise with his wife all around the Orient. So we're waiting for him to come back, right? So finally he comes back, and he's telling us all about all these people and over there, and they're all wearing masks, and they're all taking your temperature wherever you go. And, you know, we had no idea it was coming a week later, you know?
Yeah.
It was like the craziest thing ever. So we went down, looked at it. I agreed to buy the boat, and then that was it. It all took off from there. So we brought it home in the middle of winter. We had to steam it back from, where did we get that thing? New Jersey.
Orchid River, that area.
Yeah, I think it was Monmouth Beach or something. But we had to steam it home, all the way up through the East River and all that nonsense. I don't know if you guys have ever done that before, but it's a little crazy in there, especially in the middle of winter. Freezing cold day, of course, a lot of wind. Brand new boat, not knowing anything about it. It was like, oh, this is fun. So,
One light.
Yeah, we had like three. Everybody I knew brought like life rafts, like the police bag of life rafts. We had like 5 EPIRBs. Everyone, we don't know what we're getting into. The usual. So we steamed it home. We got it up to Connecticut, and then I had it trucked up to the house. So it was just sitting there all spring. So it was like, all right. I figured if we're going to get everything done on this thing, we got to get it done now. I don't want to be bringing this thing home every year, kind of stuff, Yeah. So we just started going nuts. I, got a hold of some friends that do Simrad stuff and started going nuts. Ripped out all the old electronics, put in all new electronics. Good transducer. Went nuts with rod holders, of course. So I think we put 18 rod holders on the thing. So,
you took advantage of your friendship.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just nodding.
Yep.
He's looking at his wallet.
Yeah.
A fly flies out of it. Like, oh, great.
Yeah. So we set the thing up, and then it wasn't completely done, but I think we did the riggers. Then we put Gemlux riggers on it, and and then some of the other stuff came a little after. We just kept working on it, and put a center rigger on it, and then the next year green stick, and then just.
Rear station was fairly early, right?
That was right away. Yeah, I wasn't fighting any
remember you were talking to me, cockpit. And I was like, "Do it."
Yeah, I just remember watching you guys without a rear station for all those years. Like your dad coming to the back door screaming and running back to the steering wheel.
Yeah,
that was
it's not easy.
That was like you're actually watching a comedy show out there in the water unfold.
I'll never forget one of the last big fish we fought without the rear station. Came up tail wrapped. He's like 900 pounds. And OG's like, that's got to be like 25 to 26 feet away from the transom.
Sure, yeah.
And I just hear like the storm petrel legs run across the deck, and the harpoon comes like whizzing by my head. Like a far shot. And then I hear this, I don't even think it hit him yet, and he was already running back inside of the wheel. Like, we need to get a fucking rear station ASAP.
You're right.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it's amazing how it goes from like a terrible situation when you're in that wheelhouse trying to fight a fish to just the easiest thing in the world with, a set of rear station. You got to do it,
Plus the amount you learn just being back there and watching line angle, your confidence being right there is just so much higher.
Yeah.
No, I would say that's probably one of the most important things on our boat for sure in terms of fishing.
Yeah.
But that's sweet. Yeah, your rig is legit, dude.
It's working good for what we do. Could it have a little more interior space? Sure, but then you lose the fishability outside. So it's like, it's how a boat's.
What is it, like one single V-berth down below with storage?
Single V-berth down below, enclosed head. It's, all electronic. That thing works great. That was all on there. That was like we were just talking about the other day. There was a couple great things about that boat. One, it was a blank canvas. The other one, the bathroom was completely finished with like the best marine toilet you can get. So that was like really nice. And what was the other thing it had?
Bus heater.
Oh, and the bus heater, it was already in there. So like there were like two major important things. And we're like, oh, this is sweet, So, but
you got AC in that thing yet?
Yeah, we put AC in.
You savage.
2021.
So what do you have? Just like the camper unit on the roof?
No.
What'd you do?
I did a what is that? It's a Vel air conditioning system. We plumbed the whole thing in 2021, I think.
Yeah,
and it's got a little generator that's out in the deck box that we have, and it works like really sweet. It is nice.
Weber put one of those like house floor units in his and just put like a 6-inch hole through the back of his winter bag with ductwork that comes over. It works just fine enough, bud. I'm like, I'm sure.
It makes a big difference when you're sitting out there.
It really does.
It does. We don't run it a whole lot when we're fishing, but it's a traveling time going to the canyons. Some of these trips are not really charters, but like we'll do commercial trips and we're gone for 4 days.
Drag him out there for 4 days.
So you got 6 swelly, smelly, just disgusting rank guys sitting on like a bench next to you.
Yeah.
And you're at the helm. you're trying not to gag. It's just stifling heat because of that, the way that it's all glass. I mean, that thing is, for what it is, it holds the heat really well. Man, I was ready to tell you I'm not going fishing with you again after 2020.
That air conditioning. Yeah, well, 2020 was a bad year for that too.
No wind. We had a lot of good weather. No wind. Flat.
No wind. It was the best fishing year ever.
Yep. It was really good. Agreed.
It was awesome. But that was one problem that we had, and that's when I said, this boat's getting air conditioning this winter. Like, I'm not dealing with this anymore.
Yep.
So
that's a nice amenity.
Now I get accused of running. I mean, there's some days when there's frost on the windows. And people are like, I had last year, I had a bunch of guys bailing out. They were all sleeping in beanbags on the deck. They were so cold they couldn't even stand. I'm in there with like shorts and a t-shirt on. I'm just enjoying the cold
air.
Well,
you are used to center console life.
Yeah,
so.
True.
Yep.
Very true.
Love it.
So how was the fishing for you? Like, kind of talk through your last couple seasons from spring to fall and where you bring the boat and where you've spent the most time.
So, it's funny, like I think it was 2020. Didn't we bring the boat up here and we fished the spring?
Not 2020. That was 2021. Because 2020 with COVID, we had to.
Oh, that's right. No one was allowed to fish. Remember that whole process was going on. So the last couple of years, we haven't come up here and fished in the spring, but usually we come up here and haddock fish. We were doing that, pretty regular. But I don't know. We get started a little later than you guys because we don't have like the haddock fishing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Striped bass doesn't really start for us until I'm going to say May 15th at the earliest.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We don't really get going until the end of May, for the most part. So that leaves me some time where if I'm not coming up here to do charters, then what do we do for April, May? So last year I was in the water, I think the 8th of April, right? We put it in real early. And we said, to hell with it. We just started burning the canyons and doing commercial tile trips and stuff.
How was that? Sick.
Well, I didn't get to go out with him at all because I was
gosh.
slammed at work and I had my hand surgery. So I was, sorry, dude.
Yeah.
Every time I tried to get out, I couldn't because, it was a very, very tough year last year.
Yeah.
The weather was probably beautiful too.
It wasn't.
No. Which is why I was telling him he's nuts for going. I'm looking at the forecast. I said, I'm doubly not going, dude.
Yeah.
I don't feel bad for bailing.
Yeah, it was, was it worth it in the end? Yeah, I think it was. It's like, you guys know how it is. You just, when you're fishing, you just pound your head against the wall. Sometimes it feels like you're not making any money, but then at the end of the year, you look at it, you're like, all right, I guess it was worth it,
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I ran into early in April and first part of May was that I didn't expect was dogfish like crazy out in the canyons. I mean,
really?
Like nuts.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm talking, years ago when they were finning on the surface out here.
Yeah.
Just like that. I mean,
No
you couldn't
shit.
even get a bait down. You're fishing at 1,200 feet of water. They're down there. I'm like, you got to be kidding me, So that was a pain in the butt. Trying to deal with those guys.
I was watching Stancic video a week or two ago, and they were getting dogfish on the deep drop rigs down there, like spiny dogfish, same species we have.
Yeah. Everything's gonna die, and the only thing left is gonna be dogfish.
Yeah. I think you're right. They're terrible.
They're horrible.
There's nothing worse than that.
We had a real,
especially when you got 5 electric reels going and you're trying to do something and you're just covered up in dogfish. Like, oh my god.
So that's what I was gonna ask you. Is it all like ground fish style setups for tiles, or are you fishing
same stuff?
Exact
same stuff. Just bigger weights.
High-low rigs with squid, stuff like that.
Yeah, squid, any kind of bait. I mean, even the dogfish, cut them up, they'll eat them.
Yeah.
It's the same stuff. It's just you're trying to do it in deep water. That's all.
Yeah.
But as May went on, and we did get some fish in April and May, but it wasn't spectacular because of the dogfish. I'm sure that was a lot of it.
Yeah.
But this year we're not going to start fishing until May, so we'll get that going. But I don't know. It seems like every year now down by us. I mean, this is kind of, it's old, but it's new. The giant fishing down there. I mean, obviously you guys know the stories of years ago.
Yeah.
And, how great the fishing was, but the last 5 years down there, it's been pretty decent.
Every year it's just been getting better and better.
It does appear that it's getting better and better. It definitely appears that it's got something to do with the bait, obviously,
Yeah.
And what remains to be seen is if these windmills are going to, if all the traffic from that is going to scare them out at all. I mean, we're getting a big abundance of whales down there. It's all based on the same stuff, sand eels.
I think it's going to take several years before you start noticing whether the windmills are going to hold fish or going to deter fish.
I know. It's kind of
I think it's going to do both.
Because once it's like, quote unquote, I mean, it's never really going to be settled because they're going to be fixing those fucking things all the time.
Yep.
But once the majority of the boat traffic, you wonder if that structure will hold any fish.
Here's the thing. I've heard people say both things about the windmills. Oh, they hold fish, and then they don't.
Yep.
Of course, they're going to hold black sea bass. They're like a cockroach.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, they're an invasive species for us, so they're great fish to go. You want to target them, go around the windmills. But when they're scattered out around Cox's Ledge, and they're talking about leasing more space down towards south of Montauk, which is like our prime grounds, I have a feeling that that's going to just kill the migrating pattern of all these pelagic species that come in toward us, because they're not going to swim through these areas.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
whales are going to have if the whales don't go to a certain area, the pelagics don't follow. I mean,
Yeah.
we know where the whales are, the pelagics are. The sand eels are there, the whales come in, the pelagics come in after that. Mm-hmm. It's proven.
Yeah.
So, I mean, come on. Use some common sense here. Honestly, that's the way I feel about all this.
It's crazy.
Unfortunately, it's money, not common sense.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's oil industry. That's all this is. Oil industry rebranded as wind, because this is the new thing they want to get their hands on.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just saw an article saying that they want to put 130 windmills 10 miles northwest of P-Town.
Yep.
Basically,
Right on Stowwagon.
Bowie Bay, just west of the bank, 130 windmills.
Well, I mean, that's what they're doing down there. There's already, 12 of them up?
12, yeah.
But you can't, lobster because of whales.
Yeah.
And you can't,
Well, and
it's ridiculous, dude.
I don't know if those are going to be the floating style or the stanchion style over there.
Whatever
I know
the hell
the Gulf
it
of
is.
Maine, they're talking about the floating style, which means that you've got all these chains and ropes holding them to the ground. So you can't put a lobster rope in the water, but you're allowed to do that. We could go around and around. The whole thing is crazy. I will say my biggest fear with the windmills is it's only a matter of time before there's a big maritime accident with one of these windmills.
100%.
And then it's going to be, you're not allowed to be within 10 miles of a windmill. Okay.
Yep.
And that will happen. And it's a definite. It's going to happen at some point in the future, whether it's 10 years, 40 years, 60 years, whatever the case may be, it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. Anybody can see that.
Yeah.
And the problem is, once they're all there, once they legislate that, that's the end of it. It'll be gospel.
Yeah. You almost wonder if that's like the subconscious strategy.
Yeah.
One step towards less fishing.
Yep.
It's fucking crazy.
Yep.
It is. And just to think of the fog mixed with those things, and every square mile there's a windmill.
Look at how many people can use a radar properly.
Not many.
And no,
Oof.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
scary.
it is.
Yeah.
We've had
It's
quite a few.
scary.
We had a lot of fog this year, and I've had quite a few close calls of people blasting right by you. It's like, hello, I'm sitting here drifting.
Yeah.
And you got less than, 200 feet of visibility, and they just come by you going at 15, 20 knots.
Right.
Hello.
It's crazy.
Or having to, you're weaving through these things and other people weaving through these things at the same time in the fog. It's kind of hard to
Target
distinguish. Things are overlapping. I mean, I don't know. It's a freaking recipe for disaster.
Oh, I know, and I look at those pictures of right where they're going to put each windmill down there. It's I'm trying to describe what it was like down where that bite was going on, where all the small tunas were. There was yellowfins, bluefins mixed in this year.
Yeah.
The dump, right? I mean, I'm trying to describe what that looked like in terms of things that go on at Stellwagen, and it was like anything you could possibly imagine. You remember years ago when all those little fish were around, there was a million guys, and you guys were throwing popcorn in the water to get them away, and like all the crazy stuff. It was like that times 100. I mean, you'd go out there. There was 200 boats there at 5 o'clock in the morning, and then by 7 o'clock there was 400. It was unbelievable, and it's a mixture of guys trolling, jigging. It's foggy. I mean, so much fog you couldn't see 50 feet in front of you, and there's just, you look at the radar and you just go, oh my God. Now compile a whole bunch of windmills in there too, it's going to be a recipe for disaster.
I can't imagine.
You know, I'm still waiting to catch a regulator with the green stick.
Brian got a center console with a bar.
Yeah,
By accident. Well, not really.
by accident on purpose.
Yeah. Yep.
But, crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what comes from all of that in the next decade here.
Yeah, I mean, it just appears there's nothing anyone's going to do. I mean, we can go to all the meetings and complain all you want and bring up all this stuff, and they just keep doing it. And I mean, the new thing is just to cancel the meetings. Every time there's, meetings now, they right up until the day, and then they cancel the meeting because they know a whole bunch of fishermen are going to show up, and it's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
It really feels like we're getting sold out by our own government, don't it?
Yeah. Yep.
So, what are you going to do at this point? I guess you keep complaining and see what happens. Adapt. Yeah.
On a positive note, I'm going to change the subject. Trolling squid bars. You're very good at it, especially for big tunas. You have done well compared to most.
100 million %.
I'd love to talk about that. Like, you've definitely got some of the earlier fish trolling east. Did you try any of that down by you, trying to get some initial fish trolling?
We have.
With any luck?
We've tried the last couple of Junes, early June. We're not seeing fish down there early like we have up here a few years, But then again, we don't see them up here that early all the time either, you know.
Especially the last couple of years, it's been like first week of June, the trickle starts.
Right. Right. See, we don't get a lot of trickle down by us because everyone's like, wait. Like there's not a whole lot of guys going out, ahead of time, June 1st. There's not there's some guys are going out looking around, but it just seems like, to me, it just never seems right down there. I'd have more confidence on June 1st up here.
I think a lot of that too is just the way the structure is up here. I mean, you basically have one massive funnel coming into the bay, and you're just picking little pieces of bottom that are, within that funnel. It's not that much water you have to explore to find those initial scout fish up here in comparison to down there where it's just like one general edge. I mean, you guys have your structure inside and like as you come north up south of the islands and all that, but
it's not real structure.
It's
though.
not.
No, it's not. It's totally different fishing down there.
Yeah.
Yep. It's like I equate it to when we're fishing in the bay down here. Right. I mean, there's not like a big strike. You're not like setting up on the edge and you got to be within 10 feet, it's not like that.
Yeah.
And I think that does make it hard. And there's a lot of area. I mean, we have a huge area down there. You're talking from New Jersey all the way to, Mass. I mean, it's a big area and those fish could be, anywhere in there. So it makes it difficult, but we keep trying. Eventually we'll run into them.
Yeah.
But you know how it is. I mean, sometimes the troll bite is probably happening up here and no one even knows about it. It only happens for 3 or 4 days and then they stop doing that or whatever. And
what would you say are some of the major tricks or like nuances to trolling tuna like north of the tip of the Cape versus trolling them, more of like an offshore setting down by you guys? Like tactically or your spread, things like that. Like,
if we're talking about just big fish,
specifically like bluefin / giant bluefin.
Less stuff in the water. That's the one. I mean, 3 bars at the most.
Yeah.
I just every time I try to fish a lot of bars and never catch any giants. I don't know what it is. Bar placement. Some of those things will come 10 feet up your transom to eat a bar. It's amazing. Just the usual stuff, big stuff, slow down, 5.5 knots. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
It's, I think the big thing with that is catching the fish when they're in the right mood, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know how they are, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to go to Middlebank in the middle of summer and troll up and down that edge and catch a fish. You're just not.
Yeah.
But you can sit there with a herring for 8 hours and you got a good shot, It's just they're in a different frame of mind, and when they're eating early like that, it seems like it's not for very long.
Yeah,
it's like if you don't catch that window, you don't catch the fish. Unfortunately,
yeah.
It's just the way it is. That's why I think we all say like, oh, remember that one year, but it's because we just hit it on the head.
We did.
You know?
Smoked it.
And when you hit it on the head, it's a big hit.
I do have to say though, we trolled them all the way like halfway into July.
We did.
Yeah.
And even on the bank that year.
On the bank too,
on
top of the bank.
2019.
Yeah,
2019. Yeah, I remember
and
fighting
big
one.
fish too on the bank.
Yeah,
like
I remember
100 inches on the troll.
Yeah, I remember fighting one at the end of June by myself in my Cape Cod.
Yeah.
I think it was 2019.
Yep.
Yep.
There was also big squid early on the bank though. I don't know if you remember.
Yes, I
a
do
few
remember.
days when we tried bait fishing, actually, I saw some fish eating balls. Like I thought they were pogies at first, but they were actually balls of squid on the surface getting eaten by giants.
Yeah, they're
that
probably
year.
pushing them up.
Yeah.
Push them into schools.
So I think it kind of depends on that too. And there was a lot of squid out east that year too.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it depends on how dialed they are on that offshore bait before they hit the bank.
Yeah.
If there's enough to sustain them and they don't really have to come into the bank and then all of a sudden start patterning mackerel and herring,
Right.
that's when you are able to capitalize trolling.
Yeah, definitely. I think that like that one year, and it was 19
Yeah.
when we were out there smoking them. There was obviously something happened there, and we just happened to run into them. I was just doing my usual stuff and happened to run into them, but it's almost like they filtered in from Maine or something, and then just found whatever they liked sitting there, and it was all getting pushed up to the surface, and we were just taking advantage of what was going on. And then what I find funny is like, it was like 10 days from the time that they were going nuts there till the time we started catching the traditional way on the bank.
Yeah.
So it's almost like it takes them a while when they hone in on some kind of bait, and then it takes them a little while to hone in on a different tactic of hunting.
Yeah.
It's
You almost wonder if it's tactic of hunting or if it's like their body's getting used to a different food source too. I'm sure like metabolizing it and all that is different from like all that little micro bait that's smaller, and like I would imagine a squid is probably easier to digest than like some big bony mackerel or herring.
Yeah, probably. And I think it probably has a lot to do with it. I mean, you go out east, the tide, the current doesn't, you get on the middle bank and the current, they're just not used to, it takes them a little while to get used to, swimming around there or the shallower water.
Too.
I mean, we all know they get a little weird in shallow water. So who knows? I mean, we'll never know.
Yeah.
You just got to keep trying. That's all.
Have you tried trolling in and around the pogies down by you when you guys have had that insane beach bite going on, or have you just been like pogies out, bluefish out?
Yeah, no, we're just doing the usual stuff. Again, that's a whole nother deal. That I equate to like bay fishing up here. Because it's you're not fishing structure, you're drifting, you're not anchoring up. There's just not enough structure to anchor on. And the problem with that, of course, is like I don't want to be trolling around. Why I'm sure we could get them, but I don't want to be trolling around while everybody else bait fishing. It's just not the ethical thing to do.
There's definitely some days that like I would love to troll. Even like the middle of the season, there's like certain weather. There's a lot of birds. Like they're eating some high floaters, and you're like, you could get one trolling, but there's so many boats anchored where they are that you're like, I'm gonna be an ass if I troll.
Yeah, you don't want to make a scene, And you end up going over somebody's balloon, and somebody's not going to be happy with you.
What as far as life, because obviously we have our thoughts. Everyone has their thoughts, and I like listening to other people's, I guess, plans when they go out. For that initial first couple scout trips that you do, what are you like thinking about and looking for specifically to try to get like the first handful of fish trolling in the beginning of the year? Like, is there stuff that you see and you're like, yep,
so
that's where I want to be?
I pretty much know by 8 o'clock in the morning whether I'm going to get a bite or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, early. Early.
Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, again, down there when we're trying to do that kind of stuff, last year we were out, I think it was June 2nd or 3rd. It was like one of those beautiful days. It was going to be real nice. I said, let's just go for a ride. We'll go down to the dump and just put the stick out and just mosey around, see what we can get, And of course we didn't get anything. We never even saw a thing. We never marked a fish. It was like, you pretty much know right away. We did see some whales. We did see some good looking life, and it did show up there, 2.5 weeks later, but just, the same old stuff, looking for birds, looking for whales.
How about water temps? or like water quality?
So water quality is something that I've picked up a lot on by fishing in different areas. I'm pretty much convinced now that these giants like the dirtiest water you can possibly be fishing in. Like if I could fish in brown river water almost, it's like for some reason they like it.
Yeah.
I almost equate it to like you want to be fishing where the threshers are.
Yeah.
They like that dirty green water too, you know?
Yeah.
So that I've picked up a few things on, but again, that's not really a trolling thing. That's just a, you know, I mean.
It's interesting that you say that because judging by the size class fish, like the bigger size class fish, and when we had them the most up here is when we had the shittiest water. You know?
Yeah, I mean, the COVID year was very clean water. There was a lot of fish.
Yeah.
But I have to agree. Like, I think it seems like it might be easier to hook them for sure. Whether there's more fish or not, I'm not sure. But like, obviously, they, you know, the quality is probably disguising some stuff, and
It's also probably helping them
hunt.
helping them hunt too.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
I've noticed when there's like a lot of that, like, not really the mung that sticks on your line, but like you look in the water and you can see like those little pieces of jellyfish or whatever the hell it is. Like when there's a lot of that crap floating around in the water,
Yeah.
they seem to want to be in there. And I don't know. It could be nothing to do with it. It might just be that that's where the pogies are at that point, and that's what they really want. You know.
Yeah.
Who knows? You know, I always go to like, I come up with all these theories in my head, and then I'm like, 2 years later, I'm like, no, that's not right. You know? And I think we all do that, you know?
Yeah.
Like, oh, wait a minute, this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing, like, you know, and this is like when I used to work a desk job, you're just always at work thinking about like, God, I should be fishing, you know? And then you really realize that all these guys, like, you know, everyone wants to know like all the secrets and tips and everything. And it's like, spend 7 days in a row in the water and then you'll see, you know? I mean,
So true.
you guys know what it's like. It's just, you know, the more you spend out there, the more time you spend, the better you get at it. It's like anything, you know, right? So it's like going skiing, right?
Yeah.
You suck at first, everybody does. And then, you know, 5 years in, you're doing fine, you know? And trying to fish on the weekends for those weekend warriors out there, like I hear you. You know, it's tough because what you see on Saturday and Sunday this week is totally different the next week. So you're starting over from scratch every time you go. You're starting over from scratch.
Yeah.
And when I used to work a desk job, I was wishing I was fishing. Now I'm wishing I was at a desk job. You know? So, you know.
Plus, there's the boat traffic impact on the weekends. Like it could be lights out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday hits, and all of a sudden it's completely fucking different.
We had,
you know,
we had both had charters on a restricted fishing day, and we went out catch and release. You had hooked one or two that day.
I don't even know.
I hooked and released two of them, and they all came within half an hour of each other. And there was like nobody around.
Yeah.
I go back the next day, and you got the entire Montauk and Point Judith fleet with an extra 150 boats on top of it, all working the same 5 square mile area.
Right.
And there was like only like 5 or 6 fish pulled out of there.
Yeah.
And the day before, it was on fire.
Yeah.
So, I mean, boat traffic's going to scare them off.
Totally.
So,
Where's your favorite place to fish? For tunas?
where the fish are. I'll go. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, you've now fished.
He's fished them.
You fish all over the place.
Carolinas.
Really. Yeah.
Down your neck of the
Where was
woods,
your favorite
all the way
place?
up
Like
here.
when you think of like your favorite place for bluefin so far, what's it been?
I'll be honest with you. It was that bite south of Block Island.
Yeah.
Because that was just being within eyesight of land like that, and then looking to the south and having open ocean, and then, you know, you look northwest, you got Montauk Point, you look northeast, you got Block Island. It's just awesome, you know?
Yeah.
Was that bite all bait?
Yes. Yep.
Pogies and bluefish and stuff?
Yes. Pogies, bluefish, chub mackerel.
Chub mackerel.
Yes. That was a big, we had, all our fish came on chub mackerel this year.
Really?
Yes. On my boat, bluefish are like kryptonite.
Same.
I don't know. It's probably my live well system can't keep them alive reliably, or it's the fact that I've got an express style boat that's like a sail in the wind and it, drifts too fast. But chub mackerel were never an issue. I caught my daughter caught her first giant, commercial fishing. We had a chub mackerel and it was identical. We had 2 bites on chub mackerel that were identical for me this year. It was literally letting the line out. Bang, boom, right out of your hand.
Yeah.
And same thing, we had my buddy Jared who owns Thingfish. We christened his boat for him this year. We got it first giant. I gave you the tail on that thing, and that was an awesome bite because we were out there all fucking day. Jesse was out there.
Yeah, you guys stuck it out.
We did. He had to go home. He had a charter, and we stayed like an extra 2 hours. And then I told Jared, I said, Jared, I don't like where we are. I'm going to move us a mile to the east where nobody was. I pull in there and start seeing more whales, and I'm looking at the finder, and I'm liking when I'm seeing tons of bait.
Yeah.
So I put the boat in neutral, kill the engine, and I tell his mate, I said, hey, get ready to hook up a bait. And then he hands me the bait. I start letting it out. And then, boom, fish, like the fucking line just goes like right out of my hand. I'm like, holy shit. And then I look at Jared, I said, I think we're on. And then the fish didn't take the bait all the way. And I'm like, okay. I kept letting it out a little bit more, and then bang, then it fucking hit it again on the way down. Started screaming, and I start screaming like the Incredible Hulk. I was just like, I never get animated. He knows when I'm fishing with him, I'm just quiet, even keel. When I was with my buddy Jared, because I was trying hard to get him a fish because he's a good friend, and I'm like, we're fucking on. Like every other word out of my mouth was a swear. And then I yell at his mate, like, start the fucking engine, get the boat in gear. Because the boat started, but real screaming, and the fish takes a turn, starts running up the side of the boat, and I'm fucking wheeling on him, trying to keep the line tight. And then I stung him with the hook. Finally, the hook set, and then the fish went nuts away from us. I was like, okay, we're on.
Yeah.
And then from there, it was like 2.5 hours of fucking torture. Because Thingfish is a big boat, 50,000 pounds. He's got the rear helm station, but it's not like you guys at the transom, so I can't be there looking at what's going on.
Yeah.
I got the screen in my face, control right there, bow thruster, which is awesome. You need it for a boat like that. But if he's got videos of me and I'm standing there with my neck and my head like turned over my shoulder, I had to go see a chiropractor the next day because my neck and spine were all tight. But we got that fish to the boat within an hour and a half, and I got the video on my Instagram. Jared is lining up with the harpoon shot, and he fucking railed it. Perfect shot because he used to commercial.
Oh, yeah, I saw that shot. Yeah.
He hit the fish, and it went down, and it went off the side. And he let all the harpoon line out, and he's doing like this juggling act with the line because he doesn't want to get caught in anything. Throws the ball, and then the fish takes off with the ball. And then it was a shit show for another hour because what happened was the ball and the line got wrapped around like 8 times.
Yeah.
So it's very hard to keep that boat that size square to everything.
It is. Grabs wind bad.
Exactly. And I
noticed that on .com fishing in December. Like it was windy, and it was like trying to back down a fish. It would just grab, and you would swing sideways.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we somehow managed to, we get the line, he gets the ball, and then he's trying to MacGyver the line around, the harpoon line around the main line, trying not to get anything caught. And then finally we get it. And then this was when we were testing the bamboo gaffs, and this is how I knew we had a winner. We get the fish up to the boat, and I tell one of his guys to get that gaff ready because when I'm in the cockpit, I go nuts. I got to, when I'm on a boat, I don't have the design.
I love
like
seeing a
Cass.
different side of Chris.
Yeah, I love it.
I got to be the one that does everything. It's so bad. I'm so notorious, and even on my boat, if I don't see somebody doing something the way I want it done, I'm like, give me that. I'm fucking doing it.
Yeah.
Get to the wheel.
Little OG in him. Yeah. I love it.
He just loves it.
That's my problem. That's how shit goes bad sometimes.
Yeah.
We lost the fish because of that. But when we got the fish up to the boat, the guy grabs the bamboo gaff, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to get in there and tail gaff. I tell the other guy, grab the tail rope, get ready. I reach over, tail gaff the fish, and I'm trying to keep the gaff handle away from the transom of the boat because a gel coat job on this boat, you need a second mortgage. And the fish starts going nuts. We get the tail gaff in him, and right as he's tying up on the rope, the fish starts flapping its tail. And that bamboo gaff railed me in the head like 8 times in a row. I'm like, and I got walked away with a lump. But we got that thing, and that was it. Game over. And what was nice was that day, it was just one of those things where you got the luck of the draw. I think there was only like 3 fish landed that day, and we were one of the 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably because
that was a lottery
shift.
fishing day.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. I was all over that bait all day long, the bait and the whales, and there was no fish in there. It was a tide thing.
I cashed in my tuna tokens that day.
Yep, you cashed them all in that day.
What kind of boat is Thinkfish?
It's a 46 muscle ridge.
That thing's a tank.
It is.
This episode of the SeaBros Fishing Podcast is brought to you by Monaghan's Marine. We recently partnered with Monaghan's and are excited to be working with a local marine business that has been serving the South Shore of Massachusetts since 1961. For decades, the crew at Monaghan's has been helping generations of boat owners with outboard parts, boat service, marine equipment, and fishing tackle. Their professionalism and passion for being on the water has made them one of the most reputable boating headquarters in the Northeast. Monaghan's is located on Washington Street in Weymouth, and they are currently a Jones Brothers and Tidewater Boats retailer and have the most well-stocked inventory of Yamaha outboards, parts, and rigging in Mass. The entire staff and crew of technicians have decades of experience, and as a recent addition, Monaghan's has built and rigged out a brand new 4,000 square foot offshore and inshore fishing tackle shop. They are fully stocked with everything needed for offshore canyon fishing, nearshore bluefin tuna fishing, striped bass fishing, and more. We're excited to be able to use this new space as a home base to maintain our own tackle and charter fishing fleet, as well as use it as a spot to film some upcoming podcasts and workshops. As a part of this partnership, Monaghan's has been generous enough to give all listeners a discount on anything in their store and facility. So when shopping at Monaghan's, if you use promo code MBG24 at checkout, you'll receive 10% off any purchase in their tackle or marine department. To learn more about Monaghan's Marine, their location, boat and engine inventory, or parts, visit monaghansmarine.com. Back to you saying we hit him with the bamboo gaff, and I knew we had a winner. Talking about product development, what would you say, like, is your typical time frame for, like, all right, prototype, putting it to market?
We got to at least have a full season of testing before we put something out there.
Yeah.
Because, and the numbers too. Like, even with the release hooks, I mean, you guys put that through the ringer the first season we had it, and then I really put an emphasis on going into production on them. That's just my MO. It's got to be at least a full season, because if you don't get it into enough hands of people who fish for a living to test something,
Right.
you're pissing up a rope.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
You're going to eventually fail.
It's going to fail, and it's going to fail at the wrong time with the wrong person, and that person is just going to shit all over you and spread bad news about you. It's just testing. You get to a point, like I was talking with Joey LaMonica from Joey's Rod Building, because I've had a relationship with him going on 9 years now. He works with me on the carbon fiber front. He does all my finish work for me and then puts the logo on them, and we sell them like that. He said, Chris, over the last, 6 years, how many of these gaffs we built? I said, dude, I can't even count. And he's like, how many failures have you had? 6, 7.
Yeah.
And that's because of shit happens.
Yeah.
There's always going to be a situation where something's going to happen. That's Murphy's Law.
Yeah.
Something's going to go wrong, whether you like it or not. It could be not your fault,
Right.
Like gaffing a fish. How many times can you attribute a broken gaff to user error?
Yeah.
It's just one of those things. But the law, it's in the numbers, the numbers. It's like all percentage. If you release a product and you have like a 10 or 20% failure rate, to me, that's not acceptable. You got to have less than 5%.
Yeah.
Less than 1%.
Right.
Yeah.
The rod holders, same thing. I mean, how many have we made in the last 7 years? I can't count anymore. Numbers are way up there. It's so many.
Yeah.
And we've had a fantastic run. Yeah. I mean, liners wear out. That's a wear item.
Yeah.
Right.
Drag washers for swivels, they wear out. That's something that, you have to tighten over time. But there's nothing that you can do about that.
Yeah.
Everything is within reason.
No, everything wears. Everything gets bumps and bruises. I mean, we were joking when we first started this, like, we've now broken, I think, every single hook. We've now straightened every single hook.
You've broken every reel.
Broken every reel handle, reel drag, clicker, every company.
It's just an
Broken rods.
It is.
I mean, you're expecting something to work in the worst environment in the world.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
You
With
could
the
probably
strongest
shoot it to the
fish.
moon and it would be better off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're all out there with reels with salt water getting jammed into them for hours on end. And, you know, I mean, it's amazing stuff works as good as it does.
It is. Plus, and then you have an inexperienced angler is using things,
that's just,
which like just puts torque on parts that
Shouldn't have torque on them.
yeah. Oh,
I think the best thing, which is what you're doing, is when you think of an idea, you're giving it to people. Like the way that the close and opening days now, like RFD days, is a blessing for you. Because like your stuff's going 10 times, it's getting beat up 10 times more than it normally would.
Absolutely.
So like giving it to people, you know, strategic people, you're, instead of like, I know you're saying 1 year, but you're probably getting 5 years worth of information in 1 year right now, specifically on the bluefin front, because guys are getting 100, 200, you know, certain guys are getting a couple hundred fish a year with your gear.
Mark de Blasio on the Blue Runner.
Yeah.
I was texting with him
Well,
back
he's getting
in January.
thousands because he's getting all the canyon stuff. It's crazy.
Well, he's had the same harpoon. I made him for 7 years now on his boat. And I'm like, Mark, I can't believe you're still using that same harpoon. He says, yeah, he knows what he's doing, number one.
Right.
But I can't hold his level of expertise next to a wreck guy. You know, again, if something goes wrong on a wreck guy's boat, I don't want to be the guy that backpedals and says, well, did you do this? Did you do that? No. I'm more or less going to sit there, analyze the problem, and more or less I'll say, okay, I'll help you out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not the type of guy that's going to say, go pound sand. I'm not that, you know, that's not my MO. I'm in this business because I'm doing it for a living, number one. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to build a future for my kids, number two. And number three, I actually give a rat's ass about my reputation and my customers.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not a fly-by-night company. I'm not looking to make it get rich quick. That's just against who I am. Always was, you know. So I have that mentality, customer first. If my gear is going to last, my MO is if my gear lasts 1 year on a commercial charter boat, it's going to last many seasons on a wreck guy's boat.
100%.
Yeah.
yeah, I would definitely say so. Just put it on my boat. You know what happens.
Well, he goes out in the roughest shit known to
Beat
man.
the shit out of everything on purpose. It's kind of a nice deal.
Yeah.
That's what happens in your friends with the owner.
Friends with benefits.
I'll be
In a weird gap harpoon type of way.
Name of this podcast.
Friends with benefits. Dude, that's great.
the only thing I ever do is lose shit.
Oh, we did too. We've lost a couple tail gaffs. A harpoon.
We
A
lose,
harpoon.
I
A
lost
harpoon.
harpoon myself.
Ryan needs to tell this story.
Yeah, we had an unexpected. It was like end of the day bite about to like call
With Diego, wasn't
with Diego too.
Yeah.
Which we've all fished with Diego.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, there's only a handful of horseshoe humans.
He's a good luck
He
charm.
is fucking one.
He is ridiculous.
It's ridiculous, dude.
I think he walks around with a horseshoe. On his
I
ass.
think so too. It's fucking
Really,
crazy.
If there's one human on the face of this earth that has the best fishing luck I have ever seen in my life, it is him.
Yes.
I cannot explain it.
You can't
You know
either.
why? Because he goes out to enjoy the day.
Yeah,
He,
maybe that's
he
what
wants
it is.
to catch fish, but he does not. He wants to go out and relax.
Right.
And the guys that go out like with so much anticipation, like the people that go tuna fishing, and if it's a bad day, if they don't catch one, have the worst luck ever.
Right.
They have to have a good day, whether they catch one or not. Like that's what he was like.
He also just has that like team spirit like component of
Yep.
him. I think
Yep.
a lot of that's being in the military and all
Yeah,
that
yeah.
before.
Yep.
So it's cohesive when he's there. And he's like keeps
He
the
just
mood
fits right
light, he
in.
shoots the shit, he busts balls.
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
like, you know, you just feel comfortable, so you're able to fish harder.
Yep.
You know? But yeah, we lost the harpoon with him. We had a fish eat a stick pogey. And the fish like immediately came up within harpoon range. And this was back when we didn't have the harpoons rig, as we thought it was bad luck. Wasn't it?
No, we had one rigged. We always had one.
Or did I hit him and we were going to hit him?
No, you hit him in the head, and
Wait a
and
minute. You guys had that theory too?
Yeah,
I
this
didn't realize it didn't
This
work.
was a long,
years later, right?
time ago.
Yeah. I had that theory too.
Yeah.
I never used to rig a harpoon.
you
'Cause I'm like, we'll
stuck
never
him.
get a bite.
Yeah.
You
that
stuck him
doesn't work.
actually like in the forehead and the
Yeah, buttonhole just through like the
the
flap
skin,
of skin.
of the forehead.
That happened to us this year.
So we were like, probably not great. Go ahead.
And then he came up again, and we didn't have the second harpoon rigged. But like I had the dart on, and I was like holding the line tight with my top hand, And I'm throwing it. I don't even think I let it go. I go, I lost the harpoon. As I fucking hit him. Like, I just watched the freaking shaft, like, float up.
You did stick him.
We stuck him. We got him.
Yeah.
And then I had to give Chris the call. I lost another harpoon, Chris.
Friends of benefits.
Yeah.
I lost one 2 years ago in December up here. Same thing. It was like we waited all day. Derek got a fish. It was nasty weather, and it was supposed to come up at noontime. It came up at like 10. It was like one of those deals, right? So we're out there, and I'm like, we lost a fish in the morning. We got a bite right away in the dark. We lose a fish in the morning, just chafed it off. And then it was me and Tim Briggs. We're out there. I'm like, Tim's like, how long are we going to give this? Because it was getting bad. I mean, it was like 7 to 10s. Derek barely made it home with his fish. I mean, he left hours before us. It was like, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I said, Tim, we're giving it 5 more minutes. The second I said 5 more minutes, the rod went off, and I was like, uh-oh, we're screwed. Because now it was just 2 of us, rough weather. So we fight the fish. It's like a 600-pounder. We finally get the thing up. I dart it, no problems, get it on a swim hook. We're swimming it along. I'm trying to head back for shore and make short work of stuff. I got the thing on autopilot. I'm back there. I'm just cutting harpoon lines and everything. And all of a sudden, like, I'm looking around. I go, Tim, what happened to that other harpoon? And he's like, what other harpoon? I'm like, the one we used. I'm like, where the hell is it? And I'm like literally so tired. I've been up for 3 days. I'm like, wait a minute. We never pulled the goddamn harpoon and I already cut the line.
Just back there cutting everything off.
Just cutting everything off. I'm like, oh shit, I had to make the call of shame. Chris, you'll never believe what happened.
I get that often.
That's too funny.
I had my buddy from Delaware, John Azzato. He called me, says, Chris, I need another harpoon. He's like all down, like what happened? We were in rough weather, and it slid down the deck and went out my scupper.
That's an even worse way to live.
Yeah, I know.
Losing on a fish, but still, it happens.
Yeah, it does.
Yep.
What was the longest battle you had this year? Do you have any bad ones?
I mean, I wouldn't say. I don't know. Honestly, this year was just a weird year for me. The worst one was where we had a charter, and right when that Block Island, southwest of Block Island bite started taking off, I was there was working with another buddy of mine from Point Judith, and I was told by a friend of mine in Montauk, was Chris, check this area out. We saw a lot of whales, and they were ground fishing over there. And we said we were marking fish. So I was like, oh, okay. I put that in the back of my mind. I got a charter. The next day I'll go check it out. So I go down there and see whales and everything. And then we saw a ton of sand eels, and we're like, okay, we're going to stick this thing out. We didn't see anything all day, no action. I'm just sitting there. We're just soaking bait. Beautiful day. It's calm. And we go. I tell my buddy, he's over there. He's, what are you going to do? He says, I'm just going to hang out here. I'm having problems with my bait. Well, this was Max Blaschke. And then, okay, I'm going to go back to where the fish were a week earlier to go check that out. So I ran down there, didn't see anything, and I worked my way back. And then I'm like, you know what? Let's just stick this out. We go back to the same spot. And then within half an hour of getting back there, I was telling the charters, I was like, well, guys, it's already almost 3 o'clock. We're going to give this another 20 minutes. We're going to get out of here. Within finishing that sentence, my mate's letting out one of the chub mackerels that we had, and then bang, went off. I'm like, holy shit, there's fish here. We had all the life, all the writing on the wall. And I said, you know what, this is cool. Get the fish on. We had them on for probably about half an hour. Then another one of our buddies came over because he heard me and Max talking on the radio. Then he comes over. Then another guy comes over. Then another, because they were all on the east side of Block Island in a place called East Grounds. All the boats started coming over. So I got to think that me and Max were the first guys to get in on this bite. So we're on the fish. One of the guys comes over. It was Andrew Ferrandino. He hooks up. Then Max hooks up. It's like we're right there. Another buddy of mine on a 32 Mirage hooks up. So we're all within succession going off on these fish. So I was the first one on, and it was the first fish on the year. I was getting overzealous. This is my ego talking.
He gets a little excited when he hooks up. You guys haven't figured that out.
Yeah.
First thing I taught him was stay calm. Didn't work that good.
No, not that day. So fish goes off. We're on it. Good. I have the charter. Everybody in the charter has a chance to reel on it because they, that's what they're there for. They want to have fun.
Yeah.
And then my mate gets back on there, and this is my co-captain, Brett. He gets on the reel, and then we have another co-mate that we were training. He's like, he's getting a harpoon ready. The fish is doing death spirals under the boat. Yeah. And I'm like, Ethan, are you comfortable sticking this fish? And then he didn't give me an answer. And when I don't get an answer from somebody, I take that as a sign of weakness. So what do? I'm like, I talked to Brett, said, Brett, what do you think? He's like, he's already got the swivel on. I'm like, I'm going to get this thing in 2 cranks. He's cranking. The fish is right there, does 1 circle. And then I'm ready to fucking run down there and grab the harpoon. And what does the fish do? Goes right up the side of the fucking boat and decides to go under the boat. And then the line is like this. I'm like, fuck. I try and turn the boat out. I couldn't get it. Fish goes under it and cuts himself off on the chafes him on the running gear. Bang. Brett's trying to push the line out. Didn't get it in time. That's it.
That
sucks. So that was like a fucking slap in the face,
That's the worst.
Yeah.
That is the
Humbling.
worst.
What did you learn from that one? Never to leave the wheel?
Stay at the fucking wheel. Stay at the wheel. That's your job.
Yeah.
That's your job. You got to let everybody else do their job.
Yeah.
Now I'm concocting a way to put a rear helm station on the
New
32
L.T
toe.
product. There you go.
It's
Helm
hard.
station kit.
It's hard to, it's hard to you know what you're doing, but having to trust the guys around you, Yeah. My mate, Brett, and co-captain, he's good. He's a good guy. He's got his head on his shoulders. He's got the skill. He's been there with me a lot of times. He was with me on that trip where we ran a charter on your boat.
Yep.
When you were in the hospital with Jesse.
Yep.
The guy's got a solid game plan. He takes orders, like we communicate. That's the thing, communication too.
Yeah.
You're not communicating, you're not going to get anywhere. But
it's funny because people, you guys know this too. People are always asking, like, what's a secret? What's a secret? What's a secret? There's so many secrets. It's like, like just all the stuff that happens, everything's just got to be just in order. I mean, like everything's got to be perfect.
Yeah.
And there's no such thing as perfect, right? But at the same time, you gotta be perfect. I mean, and it's, you see all these guys, like, when they first get into this and they're hooked, even when they hook a fish and then they still don't land it. And it sometimes it's 5, 6, 7, 8 times they're out there for hours on end and all these battles and it's like, and then you come out and just, drop a bait in the water, crank up a fish in an hour and go home,
Yeah.
And it takes time. I mean, all this stuff. I mean, how many times Chris just said somebody got hit in the head with a gaff. I mean, it's like, I don't know, just it kind of comes with the flow. I don't know. It's mojo, I guess.
No, yeah. I mean, it takes perfection, but you also need to know when to apply certain things.
Right.
I think a lot of it's just, like you said, all of it is time, and time builds confidence.
Yep.
And confidence builds better communication skills and the ability to not have to verbally communicate. Like him and I can just look at each other.
Right.
You just know like what we need to do.
Team building.
Yeah.
You got people around you that you can comfortably be with in a situation like that. I mean, then you're going to win.
Yeah.
Like I've gotten accustomed to fishing with Jesse. Like I know, we don't yell at each other on the boat.
No.
The only time we yell is when we muff a harpoon shot and then we get all excited.
Yeah.
But no, it's just calm and collective.
You guys fished together in December.
Yes.
Right. How was that?
It was awesome.
December was
better
fun.
than June.
Better than I would say better than June.
I had a terrible start to last season. Terrible.
Good
Absolutely
finish though.
terrible.
You got one every day you fished.
I did. We did have a good finish, but and again, that's the other thing. You go every day, and eventually the luck turns around.
Yeah.
I think as a recreational guy, when you only go 8 times a year, the luck takes a lot longer to turn around.
It does.
But yeah, June was like just the worst friggin' month for me. It was like, I don't know, June 15th, let's say. It was middle of June. Go out. I was like, I'd already been out a couple times scouting around, just looking around for stuff. And I went out. You were with me, right?
I was with you on
me, you and Dave and Frank?
No, I was on the one where we broke.
Oh, you were on your boat. You were in your boat that day. So he's on his boat. I'm on my boat. Foggy. I mean, nasty.
Oh, yeah. We
south of
crossed
Windmills. And we bent an outrigger in the morning, swapping off bait.
Destroyed my outrigger.
Yep, his outrigger got ginked. Somehow my carbon fiber one is fine. I have no idea why. We go out there, floating baits. I'm like, I'm not marking shit here. And then all of a sudden he goes, oh, he marked one. And I'm like, really? I said, where was it? 70 feet. All right. So I already had one at 70 feet. I'm like, 10 minutes later, I'm standing there, and you couldn't see the end of my out my window. I mean, it was so freaking foggy. I mean, literally, all of a sudden, I just hear a reel going off, and I'm like, is that our boat? Somebody else's? Like, I'm in the wheelhouse, just like, listening to tunes, and we get on the fish. We're fighting the fish for 45 minutes. It was like a 105-incher. We had it right to the back of the boat, 2 more cranks, and chafed it off. I'm like, oh man. So no more bites that day. So that was like on a Monday. No,
that was a Saturday, because this was in June before they did restricted days.
Yeah.
So
when it was open,
and so then fast forward middle of that week, right? So you guys were catching fish up here. Yeah. So I'm like, I'm not steaming all the way up there, and there wasn't much going on down there yet. So Scott Brady calls me. He's like, hey, what are you doing? You want to go fishing this week? I'm like, yeah, I'll come up with you. So then he calls me back. He's like, oh, my knee's killing me. I can't go. He's like, if you want to take the boat, take it. So I said to my son Jesse, I said, you want to go out in the Cape Cod? He's like, yeah, I'll go. So we come up. We're all fishing southwest corner there at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
And a couple guys got some bites. All of a sudden, a rod goes off. We fight it for like 20 minutes. Jesse and I pull the hook. So now we got a chafed off fish, a pulled hook. So what was the next time we went? It was like 3 days later. It was
Friday.
Yeah, it was a Friday, right? So now we go back on my boat. Chris is like, we got to go back down there. There's got to be some fish, right? So we go out. We find these whales, find bait. We're all over it. We're the only ones there. I'm like, Jesus, this is going to be good, right? Like, we're there for 4 or 5 hours. We don't mark a fish. I mean, there's bait, mackerel flying out of the water, eating sand eels. We got whales all over the place. We're the only ones there. All of a sudden, I start hearing some distant chatter on the radio. So all of a sudden, you get a phone call. Hey, they're up here. You got to come up here. I'm like, what the frig? I got to go all the way over there. And again, this is the bad part of a down east boat, right? So we go over there.
How many miles is that?
7 miles, 8 miles.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not too far, but far enough.
Annoying. Yeah.
So we go in. Luckily, it was heading back towards home, and I'm like, I got no faith at this point. I'm like, oh, yeah, right. This is going to be a joke, right? So we sit around for like another 4 or 5 hours. We're down to our last 2 bluefish. I'm like, Chris, and I was getting pissed. I never get mad when I'm fishing, but I just had that feeling all day. I was like, this is such a goddamn waste of time. Should have been in the canyons.
When he's pissed, it's like a honeymoon.
It's
compared to some people.
So I'm
I can't imagine it's too aggressive.
I was just like pissing and moaning all day. I was like, this just friggin' sucks. I hate these goddamn giants. I'm like, this is mad.
You got Captain Dark Cloud over there.
Yeah. So all of a sudden, like now it's like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. A lot of guys had already gone home. All of a sudden, the bait starts piling up. Now, all of a sudden, there's whales all over the place. I'm like, oh, this is looking pretty good. So, all of a sudden, Chris like, dude, we're marking one. All of a sudden, we're marking 10, right? Bam, rod goes off. 2 seconds later, balloon comes back up. I'm like, reel it in. It's a bluefish, like a 10-pounder, and the whole head is skinned right off. It don't have a scale left on it. It went all the way down the throat of like a 95-incher, and he couldn't choke it. So, he spit it up, right? So, I look at the screen now, we're marking like 20 of them. I mean, they're all over under us. I take the bait. The thing was like barely swimming. I drop it down. It doesn't get like 10 feet under the boat, and it just gets annihilated on. I'm like, ooh, perfect. I get up in the bow rod holder because we wanted to just chase it out of the little fleet that was left, and there was some party boats and shit in there too, so it was a little bit of a mess. But
mind you, this is like a month and a half after my surgery, so I'm just fucking useless. All I can do is drive the boat.
Drive the boat. So I'm like, all right, you run the boat. So we pull it out of there. We get it out of there. Fought it for like, what, an hour? Yeah, 45 minutes maybe. And just up there, no extra drag, nothing. All of a sudden, just blow it off, pull it in, broken hook.
So you have a chafe off, a pulled hook, a broken hook?
Chafed off,
a missed bite,
a pulled hook, a missed bite, and a broken hook, all in the same week. I mean, literally in a 7-day period. I was like, this is one hell of a way to start the season. And then from there, it all started.
It improved.
December was the cream, was the cherry on top.
I mean, it was. It was. So
that was fun shit in December. Crazy that there were that many boats there.
Yeah.
But
you got one on a dead bait, didn't you?
Funny, we didn't see any boats.
Yeah.
Well, you were done 2 of the days before everyone was out there, weren't you? Yeah. And you got one on a dead herring too, didn't you?
Dead mackerel.
You didn't do anything special. You just sent it right down.
I didn't, no stick bait, no nothing, right? And I got a little tip from a friend of mine the day before. He goes, hey, I knew I was going to get out there in the night. So he's like, I had like 3 dead mackerel that had been in the bottom of my freezer for like 4 years. He goes, so I just brought them for shits and grins. Maybe I could do something with them at night, you know? So he goes, I put the thing on the hook and threw it over, and I was tight in the dark. He's like, I don't know whether it was a fluke thing or what. And I'm like, wow, that's freaking weird. And I'm like, you didn't like do it? He's like, no, I just hooked it through the nostril, threw it over. And so I said, well, we got out there in the dark. It was pitch black. I said, Chris, try to get some mackerel. So Chris and this other guy, a friend of mine, Aaron, were fishing for mackerel. So I go, well, I'm looking. I said, we brought the things, you know what I mean? Hooked it right through the nostrils, like nothing, just frozen, like angled out of the bag, you know, like all just torn up. Hooked it through the eyes. I throw it over, and if it was 4 minutes, I'd be surprised. I mean, literally, I let it out. I put it at like 60 feet. I tie a balloon on it. The balloon was 5 feet from the boat, and all of a sudden, Chris goes, "Hey, I think we got a shark on here." And it's the second you said that, because it was knocking at it. It was just like doink, 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 doink. And then as soon as you said that, the thing just freaking lapped over and off to the races.
Just goes to show you. Hook in the water.
Yeah, and you know as well as I do that 99 times out of 100, that would have been a poor beagle or a blue shark or something. You know what I mean? And Chris like, oh, I think we got a shark on here.
It's fucking crazy how sometimes they don't care. Or sometimes they're dialed into like junk, garbage bait.
Yeah.
We had one fish in Canada that we, like, you guys know us obviously well by now, fucking like surgically rigging a flutter mackerel. And like the Canadians, like, they're amazing fishermen. But they're very simple. Like, they're not rigging sticks. They're not doing all this stuff. I'm like, flutter mackerel, perfect. You know, like 180-pound fluoro. Like, we're getting the fish all, like, you know, frenzy. You don't even have a rod in the water. And Jamie's, like, working the flutter bait. No bites. Back in. Working it again. No bites. Working it again. No bites. Like, the fuck? Like, literally almost visually seeing these things. He just takes a thing and throws it on the deck and fucking steps on it as hard as he can. Puts it down. On.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
Sometimes they're lazy as hell.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's just so weird, though.
It is.
You'd be so technical sometimes, and other times they just don't care.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
But,
well, that's great. How was the canyon fishing this past year?
it was slower for us. I don't know if it was for everybody. I think it pretty much was. It was definitely slower. We caught plenty of fish. That wasn't the problem. It's just the quality of fish. A lot of 40 to 60 pound yellowfins. I don't think we got one big eye that was over 100 pounds. I mean, it was like just a lot of small fish. A lot of them, and it's fun. The charters it's great for the charters and stuff. Trying to think, we started canyon fishing in June last year, and right after all that bluefin stuff went on, I said, "All right, I'm done." I said, "That's it for now." So we started canyon fishing, but it was all right. But I don't know. There's a lot of things that go into that. Canyon fishing is, some years are great, some years aren't so great.
Some years the weather doesn't line up with the water and vice versa.
Exactly. It all depends on where the eddies go. I mean, it's definitely a tough thing to do on a regular basis. I mean, I think it helps if you're out there all the time, but it changes so much too. I mean, you go one day and you're like, oh, this was freaking great. You wake up in the morning and then there's no fish around. And meanwhile, the next canyon over is producing. It's stuff like that. Yeah. Kind of drives you nuts. But yeah, good fishing, but the quality of fish just wasn't there.
Yeah. So. What canyons did you spend the most time in?
We didn't go too far east this year. We stayed mainly between like East Atlantis and all the way down to the Hudson, really. Yeah, we spent, the early part we spent over by the Hudson. There was a good bluefin bite there. There was a couple giants mixed in. There was some, a lot of small fish, good for the charters. They were real finicky though. They wouldn't eat the green stick at all. It was so funny. You pull the stick, you fish for 2 hours with the stick out in a full spread. They wouldn't come anywhere near you. You pull the stick in, bam, 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 on.
Wow.
They just did not want anything to do with that stick.
Huh.
It was pretty funny. But we do a lot of tile fishing too. So that kind of plays into it more than it ever did. So I kind of like to be around the areas that I like to tile fish into when I'm going canyon fishing now too.
Have
So
options.
Yeah, yep.
Good for the charters, I'm sure.
It is.
Midday can be a grind sometimes out there.
And that's why I like it. That's why I like it.
You do any day dropping for swords?
We didn't last year. Didn't want to waste a whole lot of time doing it. You know what I did do a couple trips this year? Was like actually put out a marlin spread and like troll at 9 knots, like, you know, actually try to catch a marlin.
That's shocking to hear.
And I know.
Out of your mouth.
I know.
You told you it was going to happen. I think I actually said this to you when you first started going. I said, you're going to hate marlin. Now then you're going to eventually love it.
No, they're still called lawn darts. I don't like those things. I don't. They're a pain in the butt. But no, I mean it's great for the charters though. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So and you know, just giving them a different look at how things, you know, how we do things differently when we're actually marlin fishing, and you know, hooking up at 9 knots is a whole different ball game. And we actually hooked a few of them and caught them. So
Sick.
you know, going fast. I mean, you know, they think a reel's going fast when you're trolling at 6 knots. And then they see one ignite, a 50 wide igniting. On
You
one
hear
of those.
noises that you've never heard.
Exactly. Yep. It's pretty neat. So yeah, they had fun. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens this year. I mean, it was 2 years ago? We spent the better part of the whole summer, like out in Welker, like way out to the east. I mean, it was
Miles
like,
is that for you? Like 180?
yeah,
West
$1.75.
Welker's house. That's my favorite canyon. Welker is my favorite canyon.
Yeah, I like it out there too, as you guys know. You know, but it's a grind in a down east boat. I mean, I don't take charters there or anything, but we spent a lot of time fishing out that way.
We had one the year we won the big game battle with Rob. We won it in West Welker's house. That was our little phrase that year.
Right.
Just like that, like the two little like bat ears at the northern tip of it.
Yep.
Just literally going west to east, east to west, west to east, east to west, just cutting across that piece of bottom there. And it was like big eyes, yellowfin, white marlin, blue marlin. It was that. I fucking love that place.
Was it on Westlink?
Westlink. Dude, I'll tell you what, those 32 topazes are capable boats.
They are. If you
know.
got the right power package in them. That's the thing.
Yeah, true.
I think he had cats in that
He
thing.
did, yeah.
So it cruised pretty good clip.
Yeah, it was good. It was like 28 knot cruise.
Yep. I can only daydream about that in mine.
Dude, I love that boat. It was a big boat for being a 32 footer.
It is.
For sure. Nice layout. Still able to sleep everyone relatively comfortably on a canyon trip. I mean, we'd only go with 4 or 5 guys during those tourney trips, but I love that boat. That was a lot of fun.
Only thing is lacking is fish hold capacity and ice capacity. That's the only problem I have with that boat.
Repacking the box and the bag 19 fucking times.
Yep.
And then 4 rods go down the middle of a repack, and you're just like, ah!
Covered in blood. You look like
Haven't slept
Rambo.
in 3 days. You're like, what the fuck? I hate everything right now.
Careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you do for prep for these longer trips? I guess maybe even talk about when you were on the smaller boat.
I think we could start with the $500 food bill at Big Y.
Yeah. It's a minimum $500 in food because we all eat a lot, as you can tell.
Lamb chops?
Lamb chops, porterhouse steaks.
So food.
Yeah, food.
Okay.
Food is a major preparation.
Yeah.
All the
What are you
stuff
doing?
is an
What are you doing
afterthought.
safety wise? Like I know you can rip apart basically every engine and put it back together.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Like what's going through your brain?
So my theory is I'd rather be looking at it than looking for it. So we pretty much have everything safety covered. I mean, you know, we got an 8-man raft. We got, you know, obviously EPIRB. What are those little text things we got?
InReach.
We have an InReach.
InReaches.
Yep.
Yeah.
We usually have multiple InReaches for some reason. Everyone's, you know.
Everyone has one now. We have customers bringing them now.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Which is like,
yeah. Keep that thing down and out, you know.
I had one guy come up. We just wrapped one up, and he's like videoing my fish finder and then like texting his buddy
Right,
on InReach. I'm
right.
like, what are you doing?
Yeah, no.
He's like, oh, my buddy's coming out tomorrow. I was just gonna tell him where we got our fish. I'm like, no, you're fucking not. That's like rule number 1, dude. Anyways.
Yeah.
What about spare parts?
So spare parts, you know, spare hydraulic hoses, spare radiator hoses, you know, some temporary fix type stuff. You know, I've got all kinds of crap down there.
Water pump impellers.
Water pump impellers. I mean, you know, plenty of oil. plenty of transmission fluid, filters. I mean, you name it, we got it. We're pretty well covered in that aspect.
Yeah.
Because I'm big on that. Like, I think if you're prepared, less shit happens too.
For tools on your boat, are you kind of like, you understand what your engine takes to fix and you're kind of minimalizing and organizing that way, or do you bring like fucking everything?
So here's the best thing you can do on your boat. Don't ever bring any tools from home, because you should have everything you need on your boat to fix it.
Yeah.
Okay. So like, even in the springtime, like right now, I never bring anything down to the boat. I'll work out of that box, even if it's a little bit like a pain in the butt. I do it on purpose, because if I'm bringing all this crap from home and then I bring it back home and I'm out there, now I don't have what I need.
Yeah.
So every time I run into something that I do need and it's going to stay on the boat, I go right on Amazon or go get it right then and put it on the boat and just done.
Yeah.
Because you gotta be self-sufficient.
I think that's a huge tip for a lot of listeners. I know you guys have fish on other boats in the canyon. Something goes wrong, you're like, what the fuck? Like, I can't even believe we're out here.
I went on a boat once. I was trying to on a canyon trip as a guide trip, trying to kind of tell them like the basics of canyon fishing. And I asked for a flathead screwdriver to tighten up a reel seat. The back of a reel, and then have a flathead screwdriver on the boat.
Oh yeah.
I was like, I'm like, take me home immediately. Take me home.
Yeah, it's scary.
Yeah.
I try to work out of the little toolbox I have and everything I'm doing. Like, I just got done doing a bunch of routine maintenance. I didn't bring one thing from home.
Yeah.
And that's just the way to do it.
That is a great system.
Yeah. Yep.
What's your background with engines and things? I know you've kind of had a complex background.
So I was I went to a tech school for automotive, 4-year tech school down in Connecticut, Cheney Tech, and when I graduated from there, I had gotten a scholarship to go to a Ford Asset program. So I did that in Springfield, Mass, at STCC, and I was a Ford, Lincoln, Mercury, Mazda tech for 15 years. And I became a Ford Senior Master, and there's all kinds of stuff you got to do to get that. And same thing with Mazda. And then one day I was at work, and I get a phone call. It was actually my instructor from Stick, who I kept in touch with over the years, because it's an apprenticeship program. So you kind of work at the dealership for a month, and then back at school for a month, and kind of back and forth. So I used to see him coming and going from the shop, checking on kids and stuff like that. And I would work with the students. I was a shop foreman, so I'd be working with all the students. So we always had like a working relationship after I graduated from there. And he called me about a student one day, and he goes, you ever have any interest in teaching? And I said, well, yeah, I mean, I'm teaching these clowns here, So he goes, hey, come up and talk to me, because he goes, I think we got a position and opening up. So I went up and talked to him about it, and it just kind of all fell into place from there. And that was right before the downturn in the economy in like 06, 07. So it took a couple months to figure it all out, but I started working at Stick in 2007. And that kind of opened up my summers a little bit to go from, just being a weekend warrior to, being able to fish almost every day during the summer. So that's what got me started doing this full time. Fast forward to 2020 COVID, they actually canceled our program. It was a very costly program to put on, and the new powers to be at Stick didn't feel that they wanted to spend the money in that direction anymore. So they kind of used COVID as a screen and got rid of the program, which really sucked, because we had, we'd have some years 400 or 500 applicants for 20 seats.
Wow.
It was a very good program, very in depth. We had a huge shop. We had, it was a great deal. It was great for the kids mostly, but very costly. So I could see both sides of it.
Yeah.
It's just unfortunate, because, those kind of people that are making those decisions are the first ones to complain about how much it costs to fix their car.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my background, but it is what it is, everything happens for a reason. One of my great friends, Romero, he still fishes with me all the time. I met him. I knew Romero prior to working there, but he was already working there when I got there, and we're pretty much super good friends. And, again, everything happens for a reason. And so Romero and I, because we both got laid off at the same time, he was there every day working on the boat with me in 2020 when we first got it and stuff. And we spent the next 2 years literally fishing together. It was awesome. And then he had to go back to a full-time gig. So he actually just helped me paint the bottom of the boat the other day.
That's sweet.
So yeah, pretty cool.
That skill set that you have is, I don't know, in my opinion, like if I were to go back in time, I wish I would have came up learning that stuff going into charter fishing. I mean, just the cost savings alone and the confidence, it's insane.
Yep. But, and that's another thing with the tools and all the crap that I do keep on the boat. It's like, I'm worthless when I'm out there if I don't have something to fix it with.
Yeah.
So, and that's like the worst feeling in the world. You have the knowledge, you know how to do it, and you don't have something to fix it. So that's why I'm ultimately prepared. I mean, and I'm sure someday I'm going to get caught in my pants down.
Have you had any good, like, jerry rig getting home stories?
No, because here's the theory on that. Don't jerry rig anything in the off season, and then you don't have to worry about it. You know what I mean? And when something's broken, like we've had some small shit go on, and like it's like you get back to the dock. That is priority. Like you don't mess with it. You know, you get what you need. I don't care what it costs, and you move on. Yeah. And preventive maintenance. I mean, I'm doing stuff before it's even broken. I mean, again, I got a Cummins in my boat, so I working on Dodge trucks all the time. You see what goes bad. It's like, all right, I did 3 water pumps this last year on a 5.9 Cummins. I got the same one on my boat. Am I going to wait until it goes, or am I just going to put a new one in right now?
Yeah,
and throw the old one in there for a spare.
Yeah,
it's $100, and guess what? I'm not stuck.
Exactly.
So stuff like that helps. And I mean, it all helps, but you got to have some definite common sense, and you should know your boat inside and out. If you're going offshore, you should know your boat inside and out. Mm-hmm. Know your electronics. It kills me. All these guys that are, I had the electronics shop. I just spent $40,000 on electronics. Yeah, they don't know how any of it's wired. They don't know where any fuses are. Anything goes wrong, they're screwed.
Yep.
I mean, to me, it's like figure out all the subsystems and systems as you're putting them in. That way in the back of your mind, okay, I know exactly where I wired that thing, or I know exactly where the fuses are, right?
Yeah.
I know there's a million guys out there just flying around, and
especially since COVID, like we've all been talking about.
Yeah.
It's crazy the amount of people that are out there that I guarantee you do not have that mindset.
No, because they went down, bought a boat, and nothing against them, but they would go down and buy a boat. Oh, here I am. I'm 80 miles offshore. They have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty scary.
And throw a few windmills in there, baby.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. If you guys had unlimited budget, let's not say unlimited budget, like enough money to buy the boat you wanted.
$2 million.
$2 million. What would you build?
42 Muscle Ridge.
Yeah.
Not a 46.
Would I have another $2 million to run it afterward?
Yeah. Like
that's the question.
Operating costs are built
because I'm like super reasonable with this stuff.
Yeah.
I like burning 10 gallons an hour at 15 knots. I mean and that's the thing. Like we talk about all the time. I'm like, am I going up the next boat? I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah.
What am I going to get out of a 42 that I'm not getting out of a 35? Other than burning 30 gallons an hour instead of 10.
True.
I don't know. I don't know how to build anything.
Maybe you like your boat.
I
mean,
do like it.
That's a good thing.
I do.
And that means you made a good decision.
I do like it. Again, if you had, like you said, if you had unlimited money, there'd be all kinds of stuff. I think I'd have more than one boat, like you talked about earlier.
That's kind of the route I would go.
Exactly. I'd have like a, 32 Contender or something that you could rip around in, and you want to go sword fishing? It can be a nice day. Let's go. You know what I mean? Like it's 2 hours out, 2 hours back. We can do that in a day.
Yeah. I think I'd have a plane to complement whatever boat I have.
Yes. Or a helicopter.
Yeah. Just being able to get a bird's eye view and learn things from a completely different perspective. I'm just thinking like progressing as a fisherman. I feel like that would be like truly the next level advantage to have.
Yeah. Definitely.
How many down rods can you fish off a helicopter?
A few. I think you could do it.
All I'm picturing is that old school Batman scene when the shark grabs him like by the leg.
Like a tuna. Tuna gets
He's getting winched back up into the Batcopter.
Well, what you need is a boat big enough to land the helicopter on.
Yeah.
But
Bad company.
We've seen
Oh God.
we've seen a few. What's that boat out of Montauk there? That big sportfish boat where they literally get out to the canyons and they unload like a 21-foot center console off it and they fish both boats. Is it Marlena?
Yeah, Marlena.
Yeah, pretty funny.
That's crazy.
Yeah. What is that thing? It's big.
I don't know. It's too big to have a name.
It's
Too big for
Marlena,
Chris.
that big Jimmy Smith, Jim Smith.
Yeah, I think it's like 95 feet
yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
It's got probably the biggest outriggers they make on it, and they
Yeah.
look like toothpicks sticking off the sides of it.
Yep.
It's pretty wild.
I don't think I can ever own a boat where I'd have to rely on 50 people to help run it.
I just don't know if I'd ever want to own a boat where I'm worried about like scuffs and dings and
Nah,
fucking
that's a pain in the ass.
aesthetics.
We already have one like that.
Yeah, I know. That's like
Yeah, but it's only
the
far-
smaller
that's
version.
as far as I want to go.
It's only 28 feet, though.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
One thing, just to change subject slightly, or before we kind of start slowing down here, I would love Chris to walk through. Like, I think we've kind of done a decent job of like explaining what you sell, but like, what products do you offer? Why are they made the way they're made? And like, how long have you been working on like each one of your major products? Because you definitely have a simple product line, like a small amount of SKUs, I guess, overall. So walk us through like kind of when you started. What did you start with first? Rod holders?
I think we started with harpoons.
Harpoons first. How
Going
many years
back
ago was that?
2012.
Yeah.
That's why Nick Stanzik has the first harpoon I ever made.
Does he really?
2012. Yep. I'm good friends with a guy that fishes down there, Captain Bill Brown, and he he said, Chris, maybe you should build one and send it down to him because, I had a machine shop, and that's how this whole thing got started.
Yeah.
And then it just snowballed from there. The harpoons started everything. And then probably about 2015, one of my retailers reached out and said, hey, another big rod holder manufacturer is like now defunct.
Yeah.
It's a big name here in the Northeast.
Yeah.
Everybody used this stuff for years. He says, we just can't get them. You think you'd like to make them? I said, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
And then
But you tweaked them too.
the way my mindset is, overbuild it so it doesn't break.
Yeah.
Again, that goes back to my mantra of, I want things to last because I don't want the customer to be let down by something that didn't stand up on the boat. Because I've been there. We buy stuff from China. How far does that go?
The rod holders for 10 years now, roughly.
I want to say we really started production of those in early 2016, so 9 years.
Yeah.
And every year it's just been snowballing from there. Like the quantities got more and more and more and more to now I'm at a point with the company where I'm consciously making the decision to mothball the aerospace side because I can't do both anymore.
Yeah.
And honestly, I have so much invested in L.T Marine. It's like, we're all in. We're balls deep in this. We're not going to stop.
Yeah.
So, and it's been great. I think COVID, like I said in our last podcast, COVID was the best thing that happened because it got so many people into the sport. And we're all hemming and hawing, talking to some people like, when is the floor going to fall out from under this? I think it's not going to, unless something drastically happens, like the fishing shuts down or the government says no more tuna fishing.
Yeah.
Because I think all the people that got into this sport are in it for the long haul.
Yeah.
And that migration into the sport opened up a whole new realm of demand for quality products, and that's where people
Gaffs and
everything
swim hooks and all that stuff.
Yep. People.
I think the biggest thing with that is that people are buying stuff that's Chinese and then it fails so fast. And not to pick on China, but that stuff is just junk.
Yeah.
That when something stands out, then it's a big difference.
Yeah.
And again, going back to people always asking, how do you do it time in and time again? It's like you have the right stuff, you have good equipment, and you got to service your good equipment.
It's funny. It's like when we started, there was, talk about like specific lures and things like that. And there's always been knockoffs of knockoffs and knockoffs of lures, but there was like there was still just this comfort level and confidence in the guys that were making the shit that produced and lasted a long, long time.
Right.
Using lures, tackle as an example. Then I feel like COVID hit, and then the whole swath of fishermen and rec fishermen exploded, and there was just kind of like a grab It looks similar enough, or it does pretty much the same thing. And I feel like now we're getting back into that, like, you know,
core group of products.
You know, it's like re-refining itself almost.
Yeah.
But I feel like we've seen that for a long time, you know, especially in fishermen that do what we do. It's like you can't fuck around. Like you have to have what's going to last, or you're going to be extremely, extremely frustrated.
Yeah,
you know.
exactly. I mean, and it costs a lot to get out there. It's not like you can go down. It's not like you go down to the pond to try it all out. You know.
Yeah.
This is expensive.
Thousands and thousands of dollars just to get there some days.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But then you take it from the standpoint of a company like mine, where you spend thousands and tens of thousands of dollars building your name, 3 years of hard work, and then you get somebody that just comes around and they think that they can just knock you off. You know, they're starting from scratch. You know. They may steal some customers, but in the end, if the quality is not the same, the workmanship, everything, if it's not the same, how long are they going to last?
Exactly.
You know, it's.
There's been since COVID started, I think there's been a lot of, to quote a buddy of mine, P.T. Barnum's. You know, like it's been a circus.
Yeah.
You know? There's all kinds of guys coming out with solutions for problems that don't exist. I mean, that's basically what it comes down to.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm sure that everyone that's doing this goes, that's crazy. I could get that for half the price, and they do. And they, you know, the first time they use it, it doesn't work. Or it's, you know, I mean, how many lures do you put in the water and they don't work right out of the box?
Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
It is
It is
It really
by
is.
big companies.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Big
huge.
companies.
But it's because it's all produced in China, and China just can't hold a spec. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
I'm sure they can if they want to, but they just.
Not for the.
They can't for that price.
The volume
you know?
outweighs the quality.
Right. So, and I think, like, going back to Chris's like rod holders and stuff, like, I think a lot of people would pick that rod holder and go, "How this thing's so easy to build? How can you possibly, like, you know?"
Yeah.
And it's like, are you kidding me? I mean, I've been in a shop, I've worked in a shop, I know, like, it's like the amount of work that goes into one rod holder is unbelievable.
Yeah.
It is literally unbelievable when you see what's going on. It's like.
Yeah.
I mean, the processes. You got to pick the thing up like
How many steps
600
in the process?
times, right?
12
Yeah.
Wow.
from, and to give people an idea of the lead time to start a production run, 5 weeks from the time the material hits my shop floor to the time we're packaging and shipping a product.
Yeah.
And
It's not something you just bang out in a couple of days.
no, you can't. You can't. And the thing is, some people don't seem to understand is that anytime you have a product that requires human hands to produce, and not some machine, you got to add that into the whole time frame, because we rely on a vendor that does the polishing for us, because we can't do it in-house because the volume is so great. If we had to do it in-house, you know, it's just opening up a whole new can of worms. So I weeded through vendors and I found the right company to do it for us. And if customers that have bought rod holders from us, I get emails, a lot of emails saying, "Holy shit, I understand why, you know, these are so well talked about, and like the quality's phenomenal." I'm getting that from a lot of people, and that's not to build my ego, but that's motivation. That's telling me that we're doing something right.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
if we're getting that kind of feedback, don't change a fucking thing. That's my MO.
Yeah.
So those vendors that we have, we take care of them. But my welder, he's built his company around what we're giving him for work now. He's like working for me exclusively, which is awesome. And I reward that loyalty, you know. And my polishing vendor, he does work for a multitude of other companies, and his workmanship is top notch. Sometimes his lead time is not what he promises, and that can really hurt me because I make promises on delivery and it ends up being a week or 2 weeks later because of that snag. But at the end of the day, people have to understand, you get what you pay for. You want a quality product, please be patient. You know, I understand you're in a rush, and sometimes I can't help that customer that waited to the last minute to place an order to re-outfit their boat. It just is what it is. But I feel for them. But, you know, you do get what you pay for. That's a mantra that's been out there forever, and it stands true to this day.
Yeah.
You know, you want cheap rod holders, go down to West Marine and buy the C.E. Smiths that I saw on the rack for $80.
Or have friends with benefits.
Yeah. Exactly.
Chris, I lost the harpoon.
I will say though, I mean, you make really, really good shit. It's fucking. Those things don't creak, don't squeak. You get 70 pounds of drag on a fish, and you get all the confidence in the world.
It's crazy.
It really is.
He brought the first bamboo gaff on, and I'm like, oh boy. I go, that ain't gonna last 10 minutes. And but I think that trip I was beating like an 800-pound mako over the head with the thing. And I thought for certain it was going to break, and it did not break. And I went, that's weird.
Yeah.
And I was like, it'll be good for tile fish and stuff. But then all of a sudden it was my go-to gaff.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like I'm tail gaffing friggin' 800-pounders with this thing. And I'm like, this is working out pretty good. I still haven't broke that one.
Yeah.
It's 3.5 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm waiting for the thing to explode in my hand. It hasn't happened yet. In the meantime, I've lost a couple of carbon fiber gaffs, not to breakage, but to we had one last year. I had a customer, and we were green sticking, and he put it in one of the rod holders on the side of my workstation. Where we would put 130s.
Yeah.
Well, the problem was that an 8-footer?
Probably an 8-footer.
It was an 8-footer. The thing was sticking way up in the air. I didn't realize it. So, we just got some fish. We get the gear back out, and I'm going along. I never even realized that it was in there. And, of course, I'm taking a corner. The green stick blows off. The line comes down, picks it up. It flung it like 400 feet in the air. I had time to come out of the wheelhouse because I heard it wind up like it was like bending over in the rod holder, and it finally just wham! And the thing was literally, it had to be 100 feet in the air. And the bandit reel's screaming. I got one on the rod, and I'm watching this thing just. It was pretty good. I said, wow, that was pretty wild.
Chris, you're never going to believe what happened.
It's usually,
Your gaff survived the flight test, Chris.
Yeah. It holds up to atmospheric pressure. I literally haven't broke anything, but I've lost a shitload of stuff.
Same.
I mean, because we just use it for...
Same. When we were testing the release hooks, we straightened quite a few, but like, what the hell are you going to do? Like, you're cleating a fucking 800-pounder off.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure there.
Ton of pressure. And then once we went through all the testing and rebuilt them, it's like, we're still on the same two since you started rebuilding them.
Then I went to the HD version.
Yeah. Yep.
Which, I mean, like you said, you can do everything within reason.
That's the OGs. Yeah.
Yep, that's the original.
Look at the wear and tear on that thing.
That's had quite a few
many teeth marks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
and honestly, the innovation on that, I will say, like, I know we worked on it
Canadians.
right on. The damn Canadians, man.
And I
They're
give
fucking
credit.
smart dudes.
I give credit to them.
Oh, yeah.
very simple. Very
Yeah.
simple, like you said before, though. Like, I mean, you don't need complexity.
Yep.
Like, you don't need complexity. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people try to sell complexity in this business, trying to make something look better.
Yeah.
You over-engineer it, you just create more
Right.
Yeah.
opportunities for failure. Right?
Yep.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
This is good.
This is really good. I'm going for almost 2 hours. I think one thing I've learned from you, and it's difficult. I mean, I've learned a lot from both of you, obviously, but from Jesse specifically, the fucking time you put in is everything. Like, dude, the fact that you're going to George's, the canyons, you fish dark to dark on a 26-foot Cape Codder, it's just like, you make me want to fish harder, like, every day. I think that's probably the coolest thing about knowing you and fishing with you for such a long time. It's like, fucking Jesse's out there. Like, we better fucking be
We've
out
said
there.
that multiple times. Like, we get ready to leave the dock, and we're like, I don't know if we should go today. And we're like, well, I mean, Jesse already left like 2.5 hours ago. So, like, if he's already out and haven't come back, we can probably go.
We can probably make it.
Yeah.
Either that or he sunk.
Yeah.
Then we're going to go help him anyways.
But I think going back to, talking about the guys that, love it and are passionate and listen to this and whatever, but don't have the time to put in. Even if you only have 1 or 2 days a week or 1 day a week, it's like, make it a full fucking day. Like, don't
have to.
Don't like, oh, it's slow. No one's hooking up. There's so many boats. Let's go home and have a beer at like 1 o'clock. It's like, dude, how much
ain't
epic
catching nothing.
shit happens when you put the last few seconds in?
Yeah.
You know?
I don't know how many times the rod's gone off. It's like, all right, guys, 5 more minutes, bang,
Yeah.
And it's hard to do too, because you know as well as everybody else, like, the morning always seems to be better. That first thing in the morning bite, and then all of a sudden it just dies out. And nobody's catching anything from 10 o'clock, and now it's 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. There's no bites, no one's marking anything. Everybody else goes home. I mean, and I get it. It's hard for some guys, but you're right. I mean, there's been days like that one last year where I had to go home. I had a charter on. I had to go home, and he hooks up an hour and a half later. You know, it's happened so many times you can't even count them.
Yeah.
And I mean, and it's easy to get frustrated, but that middle of the day is very easy to get frustrated, and then you're frustrated, you go home.
Yeah.
You only get so many opportunities to be on the water. You get more opportunities to sit on your couch or go to the bar and have a drink.
Yep.
Don't squander it.
Exactly.
So if you're already out there, commit.
Yep.
Commit.
So you got to make the commitment ahead of time, though, because how many guys, they call 4 buddies and like, oh, I got to be home by 3. One guy, it's like, it's tough. I get it. It's tough for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of it, part of your program, and that you might just enjoy being out there for a few hours, but if you really, really, really want to get good at it,
right,
you got to put that fucking time in.
I wish we could stay longer.
I know.
I
wish we could stay to stay fishing consistently every day to 4:30, 5 o'clock at least. I mean, for us, it's 3 o'clock. Back of the dock by 3, 4 o'clock.
Right. Yeah, the charters make it tough on that aspect.
Yeah, I mean, and it's tough. I mean, to try to do that for us, already. I mean, you guys know, but you're already smoked as it is by the time you get to mid-August, especially.
Yep.
That adds up fast. That extra time.
It sure does. Yeah, and then you're getting no sleep at night, which I'm used to, but most people aren't.
Yeah.
I remember back 15 years ago, 18 years ago, talking to your dad on the radio. I would leave Summers, go to Weymouth, get in my boat, and still beat him out there.
Yeah.
And he'd be. I think that's probably how he started talking to me. He was like, "How are you here so early? Where did you come from? Did you stay last night?" And I'm like, "No, I was in Somers, Connecticut this morning." What?
Yeah.
You're freaking crazy. What time did you leave? 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
It's just nothing.
Yeah.
But
you love it.
When you have to do it, you have to do it.
Yeah. I know. So. You put a lot of time in, a lot of effort, a lot of hours.
That's what mainly it's all about. Bash your head against the wall and keep doing the same thing, and
it'll pan out.
It does. Yep.
So. Well, boys, this was awesome.
Yep.
2 hours on the recorder. Pleasure
Websites.
as always. Yeah, charters.
Well,
What are we doing?
Information.
Jesse, tell them your info because I don't need any more charters.
So my info, we're out of Mystic, Connecticut. We do bounce around. Sometimes we're up this way, especially in the fall. December bite usually up back this way. Cell phone number 860-978-2687. Think Big Charters on Facebook. Check us out if you want to go. We got all kinds of stuff going on, inshore, offshore, midshore, whatever you want to call it. We'll get you out there. Do something if you're down that way.
If you want to fish extremely hard, go with Jesse.
Be
for
ready.
Sure. Be ready.
Be ready. We do have a good time. That's. I told Chris this for years. The one thing that if you're going fishing with me, we are going to have a good time no matter what. No matter if there's fish biting or not. I don't care what we're doing. It's going to be a good time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, for sure.
Yep.
Well, thank you, boys. Again, appreciate it.
Good time.
Looking forward to the season. Be here before we know it. Herrings are in the runs.
Yeah.
Shad season is upon us.
Got an eclipse today.
Eclipse today.
Yep.
Just had an earthquake last week.
Yeah, did you guys get the earthquake?
I didn't feel it.
I didn't either.
My house shook like hell.
Did it really?
It was unbelievable. I was sitting at the table doing permits, and there was no one in my house. It was quiet. Everyone was at school. And I'm like, the dog started going nuts. And I knew he wanted to go to Dunkin' Donuts, but I didn't realize it was that bad. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? And it was like 30 seconds before, and the second I felt it, I went, this is an earthquake. And I looked out, and there's water on top of the liner in my swimming pool, and it was just freaking like 4-inch seas out there. I was like, whoa. And then the curtain started swinging. And I was like, wow, this is pretty wild.
Crazy.
Yeah, it was like maybe 10 seconds. It's pretty cool. He calls me, I think we just had an earthquake. I'm like, oh, I know we had one. It was funny.
We actually caught a tuna after an earthquake. I know we've told the story on this before.
I was out there that day.
Yeah, you were out there. It was in November.
Yep.
We were fishing with Ferruli on Hunt and Harvest. You were on your boat. You guys, I think, got one in the morning or something, or I can't remember. That might have been like that same week.
Yeah. We were out there for a reason.
Yeah, out there for a reason.
Yep.
But yeah, all the land birds started landing all over the boat. And
Yep.
I was walking around the boat with a cardinal.
yeah, Taylor had a cardinal on his finger.
Pretty wild.
It was pretty wild. Well, awesome. Thank you guys again.
Thanks for coming up.
Yeah, no problem, boys.
End this on our father's 3 words of fishing wisdom. Remember, you can't catch them if you don't have a hook in the water. Always trust your instincts. And the last one, you'll have to keep listening. Stay tight, everybody. Thank you very much for tuning in to the SeaBros Fishing Podcast. If you would like more information about today's guest, our episode, and show sponsors, or if you want to order hats and apparel, please visit our website at SeaBrosFishing.com. You can also stay up to date on all the latest SeaBros Fishing content and podcast episodes by following us on Instagram at SeaBros Fishing. Finally, to book a trip with us through our family-run charter fishing company, please visit MassBayGuides.com or see our latest updates and fishing reports by following Mass Bay Guides on Instagram and Facebook.